wanted to share with you what the Macedonian government has done in terms of streamlining the process and making it truly easy to invest in Macedonia. So that is the mission of our panel today. And due to time constraints, we're going to try to move a little bit faster. And instead of introducing each and every panelist, I will introduce our keynote speaker. And then after that, we'll just pass the microphone to everyone down the road. I want to make sure that we have about 30 minutes, 20, 30 minutes at the end, so that we could ask questions. With that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our Deputy Prime Minister for Economic Affairs for Macedonia, Mr. Vladimir Pešovski, please, to take us down.
Good afternoon all. Thank you for having me as a keynote speaker at this session. It's always a challenge to start first after a coffee break, especially if the weather is as nice and the terrace as nice as here, but we have to deal with what we have. Okay, what I'm going to speak about in the next 10 minutes is just a brief overview of what we are trying to do in the government with a number of projects in order to create a proper business climate. I decided not to go with a traditional speech, but to speak a little bit from the heart. I made a couple of bullet points before starting the session, and the word that came to my mind when thinking about what we are trying to do is enabler. This is how we see the government and the role of the government in terms of setting the proper business climate. So what the government can do in order to create a proper environment are numerous things, but those can be divided in several areas, and I believe that in all of these areas we have done tremendous effort with some good results, not excellent due to some other constraints, but let me speak about that in general. First, what the government can do first, and this is okay, arbitrary order, is to improve the infrastructure. I always believe that the role of the government should be to create proper environment, to leave the businesses focused on what they know best, their own business, take the market risk on their own, but for the government to make an environment that will take all other risks or mitigate all other risks to the lowest possible level. So infrastructure is one of the key areas, especially for a country that is not so developed like Macedonia. So a number of projects have been executed in this area, starting with the roads. We are completing now the Corridor 10, the corridor that goes the highway from north to south, from Serbia to Greece, and vice versa. We have just announced recently, 1 month ago, completion of the last section. So this is 250 million euro investment, which would result in complete highway connection along this route. With respect to transportation, additional thing, you have all came here, or most of you, by airport, by plane via the new airport. It's a project that we worked very hard. I was intimately involved with lots of challenges with this project, but I'm glad that you now can see the new airport, which is the most developed, the newest, most advanced airport in the region. We're working on a number of connections to be increased, which will be announced very soon. In terms of energy, a field very dear to me, and that's my background originally. Again, highest level of investment in the last 5-6 years compared to any 5 or 6 year period before. I will not go through the list of what has been done, but I will just mention that we are now also completing the final steps for the gasification of the country. We are increasing the number of high voltage connections to the neighboring power systems. We are launching or building several new hydropower plants, improvement of the existing thermal power plants, all with the idea to secure energy supply in the country. With respect to the other infrastructure, again, the telecommunication business is in the private hands, but I believe that in terms of regulatory environment, we have done what is necessary. We have 3 significant players. There are numerous smaller players, but the infrastructure is among the most advanced in the area in Europe. In terms of other factors, I will put banking also as a part of the infrastructure. It's there are a number of banks, 70% of the capital is foreign owned. Of course, there are a number of services that exist in the West that do not exist here, so there is some opportunity for investment of the private sector in this area, but generally the banking environment can be classified as stable. Another aspect in terms of infrastructure is what we will speak, or my colleagues will speak after me, is the concept of free economic zones. We call them technological industrial development zones. But the idea is to have in one place a proper infrastructure, of course coupled with the proper fiscal incentives, that would enable foreign companies that have technologies not present in the country in one place to have good infrastructure, to have good conditions for doing business. So that would be about the infrastructure. Another aspect that I think the Minister Stavreski covered this morning is macroeconomic stability. I'm sure he went into sufficient level of details, and this is an area that maybe 10 years ago most of the businessmen were not paying attention to. It was something that was taken as a given, but the last years show us that especially large companies, corporations have to take macroeconomic stability in a given country, in a given market, very seriously, analyze it very seriously or more seriously than they did before in order to ensure long-term success for their own business. And I think in this area we have tremendous results. Whether you look at the exchange rate, which remains stable throughout this period, whether you look at the inflation, which again is among the lowest in the region and in the world. If you look at the financial sector, we have no failure of a bank during the financial crisis. If you look at the credit ratings of the country that remained stable throughout these last 4 or 5 years, the word that exudes out of this is stability. And again, coming from the private equity sector, I always, I mean, I personally have seen working in Serbia where stability was not really at the desired level, how this created lots of problems. So our logic as a government is maintain stability so businesses can do their planning properly. If you have a proper stability, then okay, all your projections and everything will have higher degree of certainty. Of course, never 100%. In terms of other things that the government can do is to create as low administrative burden as possible. You can achieve this via 3 basic approaches. First, steps should be taken to reduce the number of procedures that are required by the state to the lowest number possible. I think with the project regulatory guillotine we have achieved this, and it's a continuous process, it's continuous effort. Whenever we can see an opportunity to reduce number of procedures, to simplify number of procedures, we're doing that, we're not waiting, and again, it's a swift reaction. Another thing you can do is to lower the cost for various administrative procedures. This is something that we have done on numerous occasions. It is estimated that maybe the budget bleeded some 100 million euros per year just out of the administrative fees, but this money at the end ended up in the economy. So again, more revenues for the government, but less cost for businesses. And finally is trying to minimize the physical contact between companies, businesses, and the government. If you achieve these 3 things, simple procedures, low cost, and trying to avoid physical contact by shifting most of the government services via internet, basically we are reducing the opportunities for corruption. Another aspect that we have tried to tackle in the last period is to have increased use or utilization of the natural resources of the country. Whether we are talking about the policies in the area of agriculture, or in the area of tourism, or in the area of exploitation of minerals. Again, I will not go in too many details, but in all these sectors, number of improvements and reforms have been undertaken, creating lots of opportunities for investors. But of course, our goal is to increase economic activity, increase employment opportunities in all these sectors. Those of you that come from Macedonia, witness the number of tourists, foreign tourists coming to the country that is growing day by day. Again, it's a result of a very detailed strategy that is under execution. There are always some challenges, of course, but generally things are moving in the right direction, especially in the times of crisis. If you look at the agriculture, it's not only the level of subsidies that the government is providing, but just the use of the land, the kind of support that the government is providing to farmers. Again, a number of things, significant improvements have been made. Very recently, we will announce for the first time a 5-year subsidy program for the farming sector. Until now, it was only on an annual basis. Now it will be for 5 years. So the farmers, the investors in this sector can plan accordingly with the subsidies. It's a well-known fact that at the end, for every business, the value is not being created by the infrastructure or the administrative cost or the equipment. It's about people. So one of the aspects that I'm not sure was well covered this morning, but it's very important to be mentioned, and we have set it as one of our highest priorities, is investment in people, investment in education. Macedonia has among the highest percent of its GDP allocated to investment in education. More than hundreds of various projects, activities, reforms have been undertaken in this area, and more of this would come. First results are encouraging, but the idea that we have is to change the structure of the labor force, to have people that are able to add value to their businesses. In this fashion, they would add value not only to their businesses, but to the country and to their families as well. So, lots of new universities have been opened. We have made secondary education mandatory. We have translated numerous books or textbooks from the world-class universities in Macedonia, so they can have access to this knowledge. We have promoted the importance of education to the public, and now we have a situation where 99% of high school graduates enrolled universities. 99%, this is a world record. Of course, that's not something that we're trying to show off too much with, but the idea is that probably at least 2/3 of these people would graduate in time, and this would be a labor force available to companies, to the country, because as I said at the beginning of this section, it's the people that ultimately create value. We have also invested lots of money in the new laboratories for the universities. Again, an investment that was not made over the last 20 years, around 50 million euros. Again, this is a long-term investment that will show results in the years to come. Finally, what I would like to stress, and what I think is the biggest achievement of this government, is the attitude that has developed within the government in terms of how we tackle business. We have people in the government that are pro-business oriented. Many of us have actual business experience from Western companies from before. We have introduced a very disciplined approach in almost everything we do, whether you look at macroeconomic stability, whether you look at the number of projects that we are executing, but disciplined and hard-working environment is something that has never been seen in this region as it exists now in Macedonia. So what are the effects of all these things? Again, the time is limited, so I'm trying to rush a little bit. You've heard the fact that Macedonia improved its ranking on the Doing Business indicator of the World Bank to the 22nd from 96th place. Now we're in 22nd. This is not about competitiveness of the country. Sometimes it's getting confused. We're not saying that Macedonia is 22nd most competitive country in the world. But what this indicator shows, and it's an independent indicator measured by the World Bank, is that if you're setting up a business in Macedonia, it would be very similar in terms of the overall environment, not in terms of the market size or potential to create profits, but in terms of administrative burden. What you are facing with is very similar to that of Western Europe. 2/3 of the countries of European Union are behind Macedonia in terms of business environment. And again, this is not something that the government is saying. This is something that World Bank is saying, and it's measuring this indicator over the last 6 years. So improvement has been steady. this shows another thing, and that is commitment to reforms, because every year the ranking is being improved. So this is what, if you want to extrapolate, what you can conclude is that the business environment will continue to improve in the years to come, because this is something that we have done steadily over the last 5-6 years. If you look at the level of foreign direct investment, I'm sure the Prime Minister mentioned that in 2006 and 2007 we had record years of foreign direct investment before the crisis, but even after the crisis the level are at historically highest from any previous period. So the results from that perspective are there. I very frequently stress that the objective of the government is not only to attract foreign direct investment, but to create environment for local businesses as well, because at the end, local businesses outweigh the foreign business in terms of investment 5-1. What last year showed is the record year in terms of the gross investment in the country. In 2006, the gross level of the investment in the country as a part of GDP for the first time passed the mark of 1 billion. In 2011, so 5 years later, last year, it passed the mark of 2 billion. This number is not very well publicized, but it just shows what happened to the environment and that domestic investors played an important role. We weathered the crisis very well. A number of financial institutions stress this, that Macedonia is one of the few countries in Europe that maintain fiscal discipline, maintain counter-cyclical policies in order to deal with the slower growth. So in 2010 and 2011, we had growth of 3% of GDP, again among the best in Europe, and projections for this year are not that great, because it's around 1%, but still, even for this year and for the next year, projections for Macedonia are among the highest in the region. So, to conclude at the end, again talking about the government, sometimes business and government looks like an oxymoron in one sentence, but it's what we believe is that it's up to this generation of politicians. We're young, but it's up to us to transform this country. The process of transformation has started, numerous things have been achieved, and we believe that a number of opportunities are being created in this process. We hope that you will be part of this process and we can share the success. Thank you.
Dear Prime Minister, dear guests, dear representatives of the business community, first of all, let me congratulate the organizers of this big event, especially Zoran, who was quite busy these days organizing this event. Mr. Mike Zafirovsky, it was my pleasure to meet you. Mr. Mincha Yordanov, Zhivko Muketov, and others who are involved in this event. Also, I would like to recommend to the other participants of this event, when they have free activities, to visit the beauties of the Ohrid city. Now let's go to the main topic. Let me give you a short overview of the economic situation in our country, also that was mentioned by the Prime Minister Stavrovsky and Peshevsky. The economy and the economic prosperity of my country directly contributes for the economic growth of the GDP. When you see the data for the economy of the Republic of Macedonia, we can see that the largest economic growth was achieved in 2007, and that was 5% growth, while in 2008 the growth was 6.1%, and that was before the world economic crisis. Immediately after that, during the crisis, the economic growth was drastically reduced, and in 2010 that was 1.8%, while in 2011 the economic growth was 3% immediately after the recovery of the crisis. The crisis, step by step, definitely overflow in all of the countries of the Eurozone, and finally this situation today in 2012 significantly reflects on the economy of our country. What to say here? According to this, we can conclude, we can see that in 2012, on the first quarter, we realized fall of the economic growth of 1.4%, and on the second quarter we realized fall of the economic growth of 0.9%. And the reason of that is the fact that our economy is small economy, but open economy, and our trade is mainly with the European Union countries, and also our export is around 65% with the countries in European Union. On the other side, the trade deficit reached 23% of the GDP in 2011. The participation of the foreign direct investment in GDP is 4.2%, while the participation of the gross investment in the GDP is around 25.4%. As a Minister of Economy, I am completely dedicated to the economic prosperity of my country. For the reduction of the negative influence on the Macedonian economy, the government of Republic of Macedonia undertakes a lot of measures in order to amortize the negative influence from the European Union, and in that direction we continue to work and to implement reforms policies in the economy. We continue to focus on the stable macroeconomic and fiscal policies, on tax and customs policies, improving of the business climate and competitiveness, stimulation of investment, and support of the small and medium enterprises. The government of the Republic of Macedonia constantly also works to promote our country as attractive business destination and attractive investment destination through improvements of business environment, implement structural reforms, aggressive export and investment promotion, and attracting foreign direct investment using the model of public-private partnership. For the success of the implementation of our reforms, speaks a Deputy Prime Minister, and that also is mentioned on the report on doing business of the World Bank. That was last edition, when Republic of Macedonia is the third best reformer in Europe and is ranked at the 22nd place of the total 183 countries as reformers. It is definitely the best reformer in the region, and is the best and also the better than 19 European Union country members. The investment and the export are the key pillars of the sustainable economic growth, and into that direction, definitely the determination of the government of the Republic of Macedonia for 2012 is promotion of the export within the frames of the strategy for export promotion, strategy for innovation. There is a strategy for exploration and exploitation of the mineral resources, then the document called Industrial Policy for the period 2009-2020. And this document is definitely in compliance with the European Union industrial policy and focuses on the goals of the new European Strategy 2020. In the Macedonian economy for this year and for next year, as the Deputy Prime Minister mentioned, we are planning significant investment in the roads, in the railroad infrastructure, in the energy infrastructure, gasification, as well as investment on the technological industrial development zones. Our other target sectors that are potential investment possibilities, which I hope that will be presented by my colleague Minister Samak and also other participants, are automotive industry, information technologies, the food industry, textile industry, mining sector, tourism, and also agriculture. Besides the fact that the general business climate in Macedonia is favorable for attraction of foreign investors, today Macedonia is recognized as a new business haven in Europe for investment in technological industrial development zones. Actually, there are numerous companies that are already successful story in their investment in free economic zones, such as Johnson Control, Johnson Meti, Kemet Electronics yesterday officially opened a new factory in Skopje, then Technoze, Protect, and also other companies as main greenfield investors in our country. We are also planning to work hard in other free economic zones, in Strumica, in Prilep, in Gevgelija, which are close to Bulgarian and Greek border, but also in other zones, in Tetovo, in Kičevo, in Struga, which are close to Albanian border. At the end, dear friends, we know that our country as a small economy can't influence the world economic flows, but we as a government work on the creation of the sound policies, and definitely we will continue to implement the plans and planned reforms, and definitely react in timely manner to challenge this situation in order to protect and definitely upgrade our economy. And I hope that we'll have success in this way. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Saracini, for this intro. First of all, I want to thank the organizers actually in this event. It's not very often that you see a full conference room right before lunch. So this is a good sign. I've worked personally with Mike, Zoran, and others from the team. So this is actually a great start. As you can see from the people on this panel, Macedonia has a multi-pillar strategy for attracting FDI. I'm carrier one of the pillars, and the rest of my colleagues will talk a little bit about how this works. Some of you know me, Vele Samak, as a Minister of FDI. And my role is basically the tip of the spear in attracting FDI, sort of like the Marines, the first man on the ground, usually knocking on doors, trying to convince executives globally to actually consider Macedonia and eventually invest. The reason for this approach, and my focus is primarily on greenfield manufacturing and outsourcing type of industries. We do work on other sectors that will be covered, some of my colleagues. But the reason for this type of approach is that even 6 years after a very strong and very aggressive promotion, Macedonia is still a country that's unfortunately a little easy to ignore by others. So we have to continually be on vigilant and out there promoting the country and the possibilities. More importantly, not just seeking the possibilities and the investors, but more and more developing these opportunities. When there's a lot of economic uncertainty, especially in Europe today, and we're facing a second one possibility in the last 3 or so years, you have to be even more creative in terms of why companies should consider Macedonia and eventually even show up. But with the crisis around Europe, there's still opportunities that we see today. For example, just to consider a few points, a lot of people know that Western Europe is aging demographically and aging quite aggressively. Public debts are quite high, reaching in the 80% of GDP and even higher if you consider just Italy, for example, over 125%. And yet, household income in many of these Western European countries is quite low. Italy has, for example, one of the lowest household debts as a country. That still leaves a lot of household spending possibilities. So a lot of new services and opportunities there. Eastern Europe, for example, with all the development and growth, it's a region of 200 million people. The incomes are still on average less than half of what they are in Western Europe. And yet this is a region with a lot of young people, with a lot of need for new infrastructure, for new development and being closer. So the companies from Europe and from Macedonia that are looking at these opportunities are able to make moves and profit, especially in the times of crisis. And this is where we come in and we are creative in this part. So my role usually is to, when I walk in and I speak to an executive, to actually go in depth and learn about the business model, understand the markets, the customers, the suppliers, the logistics, the talent required, the resources, and so forth, so that they see us more and more as business colleagues, as partners, and less as sort of a politician to a business executive relationship. And over time, we are actually taking the lead spot in terms of consideration for new investment opportunities. That's why even in the course of this crisis over the last few years, some of the largest companies have, for a variety of projects, come in and considered Macedonia. Companies of the likes of Daimler, Bosch, Honeywell, Foxconn, and many others have been here, have made assessments. Some have postponed projects, some have gone elsewhere. But nonetheless, the fact that we've been very proactive and taken a very direct business approach has helped in that process alone. So when we discuss why and how they need to consider Macedonia Invest, we usually focus on three key reasons, because cost is always a predominant factor, but that's the first step to being commoditized. So three reasons usually that we talk about Macedonia are: one, people; two, costs, of course; and three, trust of the government. The people side of it is that we're one of the youngest countries, in fact, the youngest country demographics-wise in Europe today, with a very high degree of intellectual capital. The Deputy Prime Minister mentioned some numbers. We have made a tremendous investment in this field, to the point where now, if you compare US with about 2.9% of GDP spent on education, Germany, which is a leading European economy, spends only 1% of GDP on education. We spend almost 6%. So it's an investment in the future and in the sustainability of that labor force. Cost-wise, we still are anywhere between 20 and 50% less than anywhere in Eastern Europe that you will consider today. So if you add on that cost structure, the logistics, the connectivity, the supplier base, you're actually approaching Chinese-level cost structure with a very close proximity. And finally, the trust issue from the government. Unlike what you can typically hear from politicians, that is a lot of promises sometimes, what we all discuss here is a record of accomplishments of 6 years relentlessly making improvements, improving our approach, improving the business climate, improving everything around us to make this better and the best, in fact, business and investment experience for many companies. So the result of this today has been that, you know, if you look just today, if you drive around Macedonia, there are 4 new plants being built, which will create more than 7,000 new jobs. This is just the result of these last few years. At the same time, only compared to 5 years ago, where we were a net importer of German goods, today Germany, the biggest economy in Europe, we have a net positive trade balance of over 500 million euros annually. And this will continue to grow in that direction. And even with the recent investment of the Belgian company Van Hool for building premium buses and coaches, we will almost double our exports to the United States. So this is a time when not only foreign companies look into opportunities of how to restructure and tap into the growth areas of Europe, but opportunities where domestic companies can see the same methods and the same access to markets, whether it's Eastern markets like Russia and Turkey, which are growing, but also United States as a way to diversify from some of the European markets that are negatively affected. So this one approach of direct meetings, understanding business models, and actually speaking sort of the business language of many industries, it does gives us, in a way, exceptional credibility when we walk into a meeting. They know they have a reliable partner with the government, and we, from that, get a better perspective on what it means to stay competitive as a country, because we really do not have much of an alternative in this area. And that's one of the pillars that we take, and I think my colleagues will describe some of the other avenues and how we approach this area and the successes so far. Thank you.
Dear representatives of the business community, media representatives, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I would like first to thank Macedonia 2025 for organizing this great event for the first time here in Macedonia. It is a great honor for me and a special pleasure to be here today, especially because of the large number of present foreign companies from the global business community interested in the business climate and investment opportunities in Macedonia. The Agency of Foreign Investments and Export Promotion of the Republic of Macedonia, or as we call it, Invest Macedonia, is the official governmental institution responsible for promoting favorable business climate to the foreign investors, as well as promoting the country as an attractive investment destination. We service the companies which have a status of potential investors. At the same time, we are responsible for promoting Macedonian products outside of the country, as well as our services, in order to foster the economic growth of our country. We act as a one-stop shop, always available to provide comprehensive and quality services to potential foreign investors. We assist them during the decision-making process. We provide full support in the stages of pre-investment, investment, as well as the post-investment period. Our main functions are promotion of our country's business climate, its political, monetary, and macroeconomic stability, investor servicing, where we are, as an agency for foreign investments, we offer a comprehensive range of business opportunity analysis. We identify supplier bases. We identify project-specific location factors. We do cost analysis. All in all, we provide full support for realization of the investment project. One of our pillars is also the export promotion. We do that through assistance and support to our companies in participating in trade fairs. We organize B2B meetings for them. We organize trade missions, generate contacts in foreign markets. We try to increase the public awareness of Macedonia and Macedonian products internationally. We also do aftercare services. In order to achieve our goals as Invest Macedonia, apart from the investor servicing department and export promotion, which are placed in our headquarters in Skopje, we also have a wide network of economic promoters throughout the globe. Currently, we have 24 promoters throughout the world in 22 countries, and 3 more are to be assigned by the end of this year. Their main task is to contact companies in the countries where they live and work, and to try to help them to make a decision to invest in Macedonia. They also work with them together and on their behalf with national and local governmental institutions. The aftercare services that I mentioned are also provided to investors in order to facilitate the development of companies that are already established in Macedonia and are already fully operative. We contribute to the continuing development by constant support and coordination, with a view towards maximizing its contribution to the local economic development. The assistance that Invest Macedonia provides to the companies that are already operative here mainly are in the direction of obtaining construction permits. We help out with connection to water, gas, electricity, and other utilities. We help out with transportation and employment issues. We assist in obtaining different permits and visas. We assist foreign companies' representatives also in education and social interaction. We facilitate the communication between the companies and between the companies and the governmental institutions. As a result of a cumulative increase of the inflow of FDI in Macedonia and the new projects that are in stage of implementation, the Agency of Foreign Investments and Export Promotion continues to work on providing the necessary aftercare services. As many of the representatives of foreign companies that are here today and have already invested in Macedonia can maybe even better testify the benefits of working closely together with the Agency for Foreign Investments. In the interest of time, I have tried to represent the agency briefly, but of course, afterwards, I hope you have some questions also for me. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, again, I would like to thank Macedonia 2025 in organizing this event. I've known Mike since my first job back at General Electric 17 years ago, and I'm very happy that he has taken on the role of leading this organization and trying to help the Macedonian diaspora and also helping people around the world know more about Macedonia and the investment opportunities here, as well as the trade linkages that we can do between Macedonia and the rest of the world. In my role as the head of the technological industrial development zones, or easier for everybody will be the free economic zones, these are the prime real estate locations in Macedonia for attracting greenfield investments. Think of this as fully functional and developed industrial parks where the government has provided all the infrastructure. In terms of the infrastructure, getting to the zones themselves, as well as the road networks, the utilities, the telecommunications, everything else that will be necessary for a company to pick and choose a plot in order to, based on their business needs, start constructing a facility. At the moment, there is one functional free economic zone, the zone in Skopje, where it was already mentioned, Johnson controls Johnson Matthey, and since yesterday, Kemet is operational. 2 more zones are in the process of construction. By the end of this year, 11 zones will have already construction processes in line of being ready by the end of next year, and a total of 14 zones in Macedonia will be operational by the end of 2014. One may ask why so many zones, but it's very important to state that we are looking for regional development. Different type of companies have different needs. Some of them are looking for labor-intensive, and some of them are labor-intensive companies looking for cost of labor and special type of skills that are primary drivers for their investment decision. On the contrary, some of them are capital-intensive type companies that are looking at a certain type of skill sets that are only present in and around either the capital or the university centers in Macedonia. And we believe that this type of regionalization of the zones will allow the right choice for any type of company from around the world to choose where to locate their business in Macedonia. What is very important, and it was mentioned by the IMF in the previous session, is that the exports from Macedonia this year have been flat, and the main reason for this are these exporters that are already operating in the zones. Last year alone, these companies contributed about 16% of our exports, and only about 500 people were employed in the zones. By the end of this year, probably about 1,300 people will be working there, and I assume probably about 25% of the exports from the country will be coming from these companies. By the end of next year, about 3,000 people in total will be employed in the zones based on the projects that are currently ongoing, and then they will be completed for the duration of 2013. And we believe then their contribution will be even higher. But let's talk about a little bit about the incentives that we are providing there and why these companies are choosing to come to the zones. First of all, the companies are offered a 10-year tax holiday. They're not paying both corporate and personal income taxes for full duration of 10 years. At the same time, there's no custom duties, there's no value-added tax, there are no excise taxes on any of the raw materials, on the machinery, as well as on the construction materials that are used to set up these plants. There's no property tax that is paid in these zones, and at the same time, the companies are not having to pay the communal tax, which is usually paid to the municipality in the construction process. At the same time, there is a customs office at every one of these zones, and there is a process of a green channel, which means that we're there to expedite the process of exporting and importing the goods and materials that come in and out of these zones. The government is also providing 500,000 euro cash grant based on the level of investment or the amount of people that will be employed by the companies. And on top of this, there are potential for contribution, for job creation, or for training based on the specific needs of the companies. And all of us here spoke one way or another on our role in attracting investments. And if you think the whole concept from the first moment a company is being contacted until the company probably 3 to 4 years down the line is already operational and has reached its full potential, probably 90% of the work will be done from the moment they make the decision and start to go ahead with realization of that investment. So from that standpoint, the Free Zone Authority, just with some recent legislative changes, we have taken the role to be the aftercare service provider, the one-stop shop activity where the company comes and directly, we're not the ones that will solve all of your issues and the problems, but we will act as an intermediary between the companies and all the institutions within the system. And no matter how many legal consultants, no matter how many consulting firms you engage with, at the end of the day, you need somebody from within the system that knows the system the best in order to help and support your business going forward. So with that, thank you very much, and I hope we'll be able to answer any questions later on.
Respected organizer, Macedonia 2025, Your Excellencies, representative by the business. In the beginning, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Krume Fremov. I coming from Ministry of Foreign Affairs and I am Director for Directorate of Economy Diplomacy. Preparing for this presentation, practically I will focus the aspect of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs regarding the facilities to the businessmen from Macedonia and the companies from abroad to make the contacts and to promote the Macedonia like a good business destination. I will open first the historical aspect of the foreign policy of our country, starting for our independence from 1991. Practically integration of Macedonia to the global economy was done by three important processes. First was accession to the multilateral trading system. This meaning accession by Republic of Macedonia to the WTO, World Trade Organization, and opening the floor for the possibilities of MFN treatment of our businessmen to the global market. This done in 2003, 4th April was the date when Macedonia became the member to the WTO family. Now the WTO family is practically cover 99% for the global trade. This is the rules and procedure of the trade policy. The second part was the integration to the EU, especially the part of the doing the free trade agreement or stabilization and association agreement with EU, which opened the door, mentioned the Minister Saracini, more of the 65% of our trade foreign exchanges with the EU country. Practically, this agreement started in 2004, but free trade agreement or interim agreement began to implement from 2001. And the third process was the process of opening the possibilities of doing business first in the region regarding the free trade agreement. Starting from 1996 till 1998, we conclude the free trade agreement with the country, our neighborhood, the Slovenia, the Serbia, in this period Yugoslavia, and Croatia. And after then, our process of the fulfilling or opening the free trade areas in the region start with the other countries, especially the EFTA country, Turkey, Ukraine, and now the new CEFTA 2006 agreement. This meaning the opening possibilities for the preferential free trade activities with the countries in the neighborhood, but still this meaning more of the 650 million customers what have the possibilities to have Macedonian products without the custom, especially in the industrial part. Regarding my house, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I like to inform that we have the new methodology for economy diplomacy starting from this year, practically developed by the economic resort in the government and with the Agency of Foreign Direct Investment and Promotion, Expert Promotion, and Direction for Technological and Industrial Development Zone. This meaning that our embassies and our diplomats is involved in the coordination and facilities to the business. Practically, they promote the Republic of Macedonia. More of us today come from the other country is practically contact with our embassies and our ambassadors, and practically this is the some way for the communication and coordination. We are not focused only for the contacts. In this period, we developed the new criteria with promoting the Macedonia like good place for the doing business, but in the same time promoting the Macedonia for touristical destination and promoting the possibilities for doing the business from Macedonia to abroad. Having in mind that this new idea, practically we have the coordination with the many cabinet and in the highest level in the government, we have the road shows abroad regarding the promotion of Macedonia like good investment and business destination. Regarding the time, I will finish now and maybe I will be here for some question or comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that outstanding overview, and the results are all proven in the statistics that we just heard. Before we open up the floor for questions, I wanted to see if one of the panelists would talk a little bit more about Brand Macedonia. Tell us more about what you're doing and what are we doing. Besides all of the hard work that you're doing right now, is there anything from that standpoint, from a branding standpoint, that we could talk about. Philip, would you like to address it, or anyone?
I'll start and then I'll let Victor continue. It's a good question actually, because it ties into some of the activities that we started back in 2006 with the new government. And at that point we had a very aggressive plan to do global marketing promotion in support of all our investment promotion activities. And it was a bit of a debate whether this is going to be branding or something else. So the decision was made to actually create a real focused and very well executed campaign on just bringing investor awareness. So just focus on one aspect of the branding equation. Because the conclusion was that branding requires a long period of time and a multitude of activities. It's not just enough to create a few nice commercials, put them all on TVs and in newspapers, and then next thing you know, people will be calling your country or whatever product you have a particular brand. Branding requires tying into the entire set of experiences from start to finish that people, investors, customers, tourists, students, and everybody experiences, in this case with Macedonia. So our focus in the first few years was a lot of investment promotion, building awareness and interest, tying that with our subsequent activities, and then at the same time creating the experience for investors. That means when they come in, we offer excellent service. We really do not have much alternative there. We create good infrastructure with free economic zones. We do provide a lot of hand-holding. So this was tying into one commercial campaign to a lot of the subsequent activities. Then it spread out to tourism and to many other activities at this point, so that the focus of the government, the operation, the way of approaching problems and new challenges creates that overall experience. So at this point, we supplement all of these activities, and we're getting to the point where we're reaching a brand. Some may even say a brand of the easiest country to do business in Europe, or most exciting tourist country, because we won't offer the kind of mass market tourism that typical European destinations will, but we'll offer some exciting, very focused and very interesting tourist opportunity. So this is just two aspects of that branding equation. So that's how we approached it. I won't go so far as to say it was a grand strategy in 2006. I think I heard this once, that all marketeers are very good revisionists, because they'll always go back and tell you it came out exactly as we planned it from day one. But we were fortunate enough to focus initially and do the right things, and it kind of evolved into that aspect. So we are at the stage where we can expand on that more. So that's just to give everyone a little context in terms of where we are.
And maybe just to add a little bit on that, exactly, it was not one grand strategy. We had everything on paper at the beginning, but things moved along one after the other. First we started with just the investment part, then we moved over to the tourism part, and then we both tied them together. For example, the latest thing for about a year now, we are the sponsors of the Richard Quest Business Traveler Show on CNN, and there you have together both business and travel. So everything that we're trying to work on is maybe put in one particular destination there. But we've really seen results, because many people were not aware of Macedonia as a destination, as a country in general, not only for business and tourism. So now we believe that more and more companies at least put Macedonia among the top 6-7 countries when they look for a new destination, especially in Eastern Europe. But at the same time, the results in terms of increased amount of travelers and tourists. Last year alone, I believe the number was about 38% more tourists from the European Union, to a certain extent are directly attributed to branding and advertising of Macedonia abroad. And again, the testimonials of some of the companies that have already invested in Macedonia are very important, because it's not only what we're saying, but it's what Johnson Matthey, Johnson Controls, and many of the other companies, Deutsche Telekom, etc., are talking about their experience here. So you may see different countries doing this. Pretty much not only countries in Eastern Europe, countries from the Gulf, even Asian countries are doing this. It's a battle, competition to attract investment, to get on the map. So we have to play the game as everybody else.
Speaking of competition. Can someone maybe make just a few comments in terms of benchmarking Macedonia against, let's say, Turkey or Brazil or China or even India? How do we compare?
This question came up several years ago in one of my meetings. The company I was discussing had no current project for Macedonia, but they said, listen, we all think about China, we all think about India. Why don't you put Macedonia in that perspective so at least we can try to remember this going forward. So we went back, we used all of these assessments of company visits, and we kept probing. And the bottom line is, when you look at the cost level in Macedonia today, one of the lowest in Europe, combine that with the logistics aspects, if you're a manufacturer, with the ability of getting people, but having people that speak English and speak many other languages, communication, ability of executives to come in here, you know, maybe not directly in some cases, but at least with one stop, that creates a proximity and a cost structure that's equivalent to what you get usually out of China. So in a time when you have economic uncertainty, you need flexibility in the supply chain and in the manufacturing. So our best benchmark in terms of manufacturing is that we are in pretty much competitive with China in that perspective. Not that you should make a decision between China and Macedonia, but that if you're looking for Chinese level cost structure, but European-based delivery and proximity and flexibility in the supply chain, then Macedonia should be your top choice. And along the way, the other aspect of my role was outsourcing, and I'll let others add into other benchmarking. This is an area where we do not have a huge labor potential, but we have high quality labor potential with a lot of foreign language skills and good ability and base to train and to ramp up. So when we started comparing both from a call center to software development, video game studio type of facilities, we started approaching cost structure that's actually very similar to India, but without necessarily high attrition rates. And one thing that came out company after company is that you have the dual benefit of Indian level cost structure, but with European sort of ingenuity. Because if we look for creative problem solving, we find it here, and it's not just mechanical rote development or answer. So these are sort of the best from at least our role of talking to these sectors, best types of benchmarks that we've been able to identify. And I think some others can comment on some other experiences if they've had. So.
That was excellent. Thank you. We'll open the floor for questions now.
Thanks. Okay, thank you. Bert Vandervoort from CF. Just excellent work that's been done there, very organized and efficient. I guess the one question that raises to me sometimes is the playing field level for domestic companies. If I look at the free zones, if I look at the incentives, if I look at this terrific access to top people at the government who know what business is, to what extent do domestic corporations feel disadvantaged, either in being able to attract good people in Macedonia to be in their management cadre, or to some extent to the effect that they feel not as loved for perhaps as they'd like?
Thank you, Bert. We go with Bert a long time ago. I used to work for him for many years. But I'm sure he was not directing the question to me. But anyway, it's a question that pops up frequently, whether we are setting the level playing field for everyone. The objectives are a little bit different that we're trying to set for domestic and foreign companies if we're talking about the free economic zone. The objective of the free economic zone is multifold, but okay, increase economic activity, job creation, but it's very much about transfer of know-how and new technologies to the country that do not exist. And therefore, for them, we're giving a little bit extra. But at the end, it's not that much extra, and I will explain this with an example. If you look at the two largest investments, foreign investments that have been announced in terms of employees that would be hired, these are two German companies. Both of them opted to invest outside of the free economic zone, outside of the benefits that exist in the free economic zone. Because at the end, free economic zones are built near the larger cities where the cost of labor is a little bit higher than in other parts of Macedonia. So from this perspective, this shows that the approach is more or less balanced. The tax incentives we provide in the free economic zones are there, but the overall tax burden on companies outside of the free economic zones is very low as well. I'm sure it was presented this morning that we have introduced the flat tax regime some 6 years ago. So we have 10% corporate incomes and personal income tax. And we, during the crisis, made another change for every company that would not distribute the profits to dividends. The tax is 0%, just like in the free economic zone. In terms of infrastructure, again, the country has more or less decent infrastructure. We're pushing now recently a concept of industrial zones, which is different than free economic zones where these special packages exist. Industrial zones are areas close to or built by various municipalities for companies and investments in these industrial zones. Where the municipalities themselves create a little bit of a favorable conditions. So various taxes for construction permits and so forth are also very low. If you look at the cost of land, to acquire the land, we have made the decision to offer the land with an initial asking price, so it's a public bid process of €1 per square meter throughout the country, if it's state-owned land, which is, again, very, very low. Companies in the free economic zone could lease the land, but they cannot own the land. So therefore, you cannot use it as a security, as a collateral against the loan. So it's a balanced approach. It's true that it's slightly more favorable for companies in the free economic zones, but we have said no to many companies to go in the free economic zones if they were in the activity that is competing with some of the existing companies in the country. So idea is to bring new value, and for that to offer a little bit extra, but not too much. And I mentioned the statistics during the speech. Okay, last year the level of investment as a part of as a contribution to GDP of foreign direct investment was 300 million. But overall investment is 2 billion, so 1.7 comes a little bit from the government, but majority from the domestic companies. So this shows that the overall environment, and again, reforms in the catastrophe, taxes, all these other things that were mentioned, and many of them that were not mentioned, contributed to the increased level of investment activity by the domestic companies. I think this helped Macedonia weather the crisis more successfully than the others. It's pity that we were doing these things not because of the crisis. We started that before the crisis, so we have not exploited the benefits of all these reforms to the full extent. But nevertheless, the growth was there and was higher than the other countries. I don't know if someone can add. You're welcome to do that.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Just a follow-up question. On the concept of if a company comes into a free economic zone, but it's a competitor to an existing Macedonian company, you have said no. It seems to me there's an alternate option. Why not say yes, and also offer the existing Macedonian company the same tax advantages? So that way, you can get the advantage of the new company and not harm the existing Macedonian company.
The important thing there is to note that all these incentives are relevant and given to the companies when the product is not allocated to the local market, because otherwise we'll have problems with the competition laws. So therefore, all these incentives the companies are receiving is only for the part of production that is allocated for exports. every part of the process that will be sold, or part of the product that will be sold in Macedonia, for that relevant percentage of the revenue, profit, etc., they will have to pay the same amount of taxes, VAT, etc., because otherwise we'll be imbalancing the competition. Therefore, most of the companies that come into these zones are purely looking at other markets, not at the domestic market itself.
My question to the panel is related to the long-term objective of trying to create employment within Macedonia. And that's divided between high-value products where you can sustain on a long-term basis versus low-value, short-term, high employment. Now, if in order to temporarily bridge, you concentrate on having low-value, high employment strategy, what does the panel think in order to have the long-term sustainable growth? What does the panel think Macedonia should be moving toward?
We start off with where we are and where we want to go. Fact is, we have more than 30% unemployment, and we know that there's some slack, that there's a percentage of that that's not realistic, maybe closer to 20, 25, but still quite high. And if we want to go to a sort of a knowledge-based economy, higher value manufacturing, you will be hard-pressed to find countries that survive just on that. Almost every successful economy reinvents itself every 5-10 years. There's always the low-skill jobs and the low-value type of industries and the high-skill jobs. And the best example is Singapore, which is every 10 years tries to focus on with other industries, because there really is no alternative. They've also grown their population, but they still today offer for labor-intense industries quite competitive market, even though they're usually seen as a first world country in terms of site selection. So you always have to have that type of balance. And we will look at the low-skilled type of labor-intense industries. They provide good economic rationale, and they can survive 5-10 years. They can easily survive as long as there is a productivity gap with the competing areas. Case in point, the automotive sector, where we have two of the largest such type of investments. They're labor intensive, they cannot be automated, but the value add is actually quite high. It's upward of 40% if you take a net export minus the import value, because of there's such high difference in that. And these types of companies will survive over a period of time, not indefinitely, of course, because there's a logistics type of barrier. They need to be at the customer or the assembly line within 4 days. So, you know, there's a limit to how far they can go, unless automotive manufacturer moves out of Europe completely. So, and then there's industries like textile, which over the long term, they have to reinvent or move out. There's some jobs that will just disappear out of the country forever. The point is for us as a government to have a strategy to be always constantly looking both at the labor profile, the infrastructure profile, and what industries and trends 5 years, 10 years from now we need to have, so that the industries that we're attracting today are in a way a bridge to these types of industries in the future. And that's sort of the approach that we take, because there's no kind of and I see this from some of the developed economies where they actually think like, okay, if we try to bring in more high-skilled immigration, that's going to solve our problem of demography. And the reality is you need all types of immigration, low-skilled and high-skilled, because it's the low-skilled immigration that keeps the basic costs for the middle class in check. And that requires a diverse economic policy. And in our case, it's really no alternative to always be looking out for the right industries and labor profiles. So I hope that kind of gives some answer to that. So.
If I may add a little bit on this, I hate to use the expressions beggars cannot be choosers, but it is a little bit in this direction. We would like to have them all, because again, if you look at the statistics, then the biggest challenge for us is unemployment. Although the statistics is, in my opinion, not very accurate. We're trying to improve the statistics as well, because from lots of experiences, people that are actually being registered as unemployed do have income elsewhere, so the real numbers are much lower. But nevertheless, almost every country went through the same cycle. First, you have to master the manufacturing processes, and then to gradually move to more high value-added activities such as R&D, innovation, and things like that. And personally, I'm not happy with the policies that have been implemented in this area. I think we could have done more, and we definitely should do much more in this area. Again, employment generation is important at this stage, but we should not wait for much longer in order to foster a creative environment and more innovation in the country. I think this is something that is lacking now, and again, we were working very hard. I'm trying to push some new policies within the government. It's not easy. It's always about budgetary constraints, the projects that have been started. We have recently, actually, in the last session of the government, approved the new innovation strategy for the country for the next 20 years. The number of activities there, including special funds, special incentives, and again, I expect more things to happen in this direction. This is in addition to the previous answer. Again, no matter how government supports this, especially a government in a country like Macedonia that is technologically lagging behind developed countries, we have to rely on foreign companies to have this transfer of know-how and new technologies, and that's why this little bit special incentives in the zone. I believe that the Kemet Electronics, the company that we yesterday we cut the ribbon and let it go into operation, is the first country that is. It's the first company in the country that is actually employing Six Sigma manufacturing processes. And again, it's something very normal in a developed country, but here it's something very new. And again, I'm seeking for this transfer of skills. I was even saying this yesterday to the CEO. I have no problem if you're firing some people as long as you teach them some skills so they transfer those skills to other local companies. That's an effect that I would be happy to see. Of course, these people would not be happy, but hey, they're not here now. Thank you.
Hey, Vera, compliments on keeping your panel on point, and very impressive to see the cohesion actually from 6 speakers on different responsibilities on a very important topic. 2 questions. I know lunch is next, but 2 questions, even for perspective for the audience. May you just describe out of how many prospects do you normally see, and how does the funnel work? From a prospects to actually people coming, kicking the tires in the country to an actual win. Is it 10 to 1? Is it 50 to 1? And second, maybe a few of you should give a thought. Any calls to action from the diaspora? I know we're looking at foreign companies, some relationship with the diaspora, but there are some additional things that could be done, including very specifically the Albanian Macedonians. There's more that could and should be done again, to drive that opportunity as well.
With the first part, I've had well over 1,000 meetings, which means that's about, on average, 30 to 40% acceptance from a simple cold call to getting that meeting. From those meetings, we usually end up with about 10% of visits. It means a company has some idea or some project to visit. From those 10%, it's another approximately 10% or less of actual wins. So it's a very, very competitive and very tough in that perspective. So it requires constant filling in that funnel, and we have spared, as far as I know, nothing, and we keep learning new things in that process. We've worked with Mike and Macedonia 2025 and other folks from the diaspora who have actually approached us with leads or potential interest. So that's kind of approximately how that works from that perspective. As far as the diaspora, my personal experience has been that we, like the deputy PM said, we don't pick and choose. We don't really have, and this is one of the activities that can be taken, a good sort of database of diaspora business owners that could see potential. So I think that's one step to actually take that approach and see. Not all of them are going to be suitable businesses, just like with all the other companies, but it's one approach to say, you know, if you have a successful business in the US and Canada and Europe and Australia as a diaspora person, maybe there's a growth potential here for you with Macedonia, and we'll be more than happy to help on that. So.
Maybe I can answer a little bit, just to complement that. From my days running Invest Macedonia, and I just spoke to Visa just to confirm this is the case again this year, every year there was more and more companies that are coming to visit the country. And that's not just kicking the tires. If somebody comes here for 2 or 3 days, they're spending time and they're spending money. So there has to be a reason why they're visiting the country. Last year there were about 150, 160 of these scheduled full itinerary visits. This year there'll be about that many as well. We're not only talking about greenfield manufacturing. There could be different type of companies interested in investment, and we're talking only investment, not trade here. Out of those companies, some of them are looking for various sectors, from mining to agriculture to manufacturing and everything else in between. But I want to just show that there is a large number of people that are coming, and that number is growing. And the network of promoters, certainly their outreach, working constantly to bring more and more people to Macedonia, and also what they're working together with the ambassadors, certainly we're getting to the point that the traction is increasing, and directly with that, there'll be more and more successful projects in line with what the work of Minister Samak and Minister Pavlevsky is there as well.
Okay, just one more aspect. An effect that we're seeking is to go from a, let's say, company-specific approach to a more system approach. I've been through the process of managing pipeline in different area, and also going on a new market. Usually all the bad apples are first offered to you, so you have to go through this process to survive all the, let's say, crazy investments that are being offered to the country. But I stress this very often. At this stage, we do have a lots of hand-holding and convincing that we have to do at the highest level, from the Prime Minister, from myself, from the ministers. This is not how it should be done at the end. It should be part of a process, but you have to build a critical mass, and then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I see, frankly speaking, less and less of my personal time allocating to talking to investors, but more, let's say, better companies coming over with a higher probability of success. And this is something we had to go through. And that's why I mentioned yesterday at the opening of the Kemet Electronics, I gave my mobile phone number to the CEO saying, look, if there is anything that you will have a problem with, give me a direct call. And again, I will take care of this directly. But the phone never rang in this case, which was not the case a year ago or 2 years ago. You know, the phone was ringing all the time. Problems, and this is what I was saying about the attitude. We have a problem-solving attitude, and our objective was, at least mine, you know, demonstrate to as many people in administration how to tackle with these issues, how to be proactive with companies, to be problem solver for them, and then as this is being disbursed throughout the administration, the processes would improve. So coming to the funnel, I'm expecting fewer companies in the funnel, but with a higher quality, or let's say the sifting to be done early in the process, which was not the case before. And this is an effect that we're seeking, and I think it's happening.
Short, 1 minute. I hope that this event will be a traditional event, and we'll have the opportunity to come and to be present also here next year. And as you, Mike, said, I will send a message to organizers. Maybe it will be good also to include Albanian diaspora here, because only together we can build a stronger country, and we'll have more investment in this country. Late of November and maybe beginning of December, I will have a meeting with Albania diaspora from the United States of America. I will present this idea to them, and maybe we can connect together with Albania diaspora next year to have more people here and to discuss about more opportunities for our country. Most probably will be in New York or New Jersey. We are still contacting with them. If you are there, we'll invite you also to join us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. That concludes our panel.
As Mike had mentioned, lunch is upstairs in the lobby. Thank you very much. This is our panel 3. It's Investment Climate in Macedonia. I'd like to introduce Zoran Martinovski.
I hope that everybody enjoyed the sun after the lunch. It's always challenging, to continue working, with a full stomach. But we need to continue. We have one more panel for today. I have a great pleasure to moderate a panel of distinguished FDI companies in the country. When we were putting together this panel, we wanted to have the right mix of sectors, countries, and type of FDI. We have greenfield FDI, we have brownfield FDI, we have acquisitions, we have privatizations. So the whole purpose really of this panel is really, after hearing this morning what the government is doing in order to attract FDI in the country, to hear from your specific sector experience. What worked well, what are the areas for improvement, what further measures are needed in order to attract even more foreign direct investments in Macedonia. Now, I won't take more of your time. First, I would like to invite Daniel Sas, the CEO of T-Mobile or Deutsche Telekom. Daniel, apart from being the chair of Makedonski Telekom, Daniel is also chairing the Foreign Investors Council at the Chambers of Commerce. Daniel, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everybody. Before I start my formal speech, let me make a personal comment. I heard today many times that Macedonia is a very small country, very small economy. I moved to Macedonia 1 year ago, and I spent 4 years in Montenegro. So, I mean, believe me, we are big, So, dear business leaders, partners, dear excellencies, dear ministers, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'm very honored to appear here today as a keynote speaker of an event which is of immense importance for the better future of the Macedonian economy and the well-being of its citizens. Today, I'm addressing you as the CEO of Makedonski Telekom and President of the Board of Directors of T-Mobile Macedonia, as well as the President of the Foreign Investor Council, which is an organization which was, I would say, recently relaunched, but I will talk about that a little bit later. It is up to us, those who have already invested in Macedonia and who are running business operations here, to spread the idea and vision of Macedonia as an investment destination in order to attract new investors. Just as the state institutions do, we also search for new sources of economic growth and are eager to provide more possibilities for the people of this country. Furthermore, we are very much interested to improve the business climate of the country as well. Today, we are here to exchange ideas and to provide information on subject of importance to the investors and entrepreneurs who are considering investments or business operations in Macedonia. We need to talk about the benefits and opportunities that Macedonia provides as an investment destination, to present our personal experience, but to be fair, also to address the challenges and areas of potential improvement. Hungarian Telecom and Deutsche Telekom are one of the pioneers in the foreign direct investment in the Republic of Macedonia. The initial acquisition investment of 360 million euros is the largest direct investment in the country to date. As an investor, we are in a more special situation compared to others because we are not only an investor, but also a partner with the government that is the second largest shareholder in our company. This partnership, similarly to a marriage that lasts more than a decade, you can imagine, that has had its ups and downs, but at the end of the day, through a dialogue based on respect and common goals, we managed to overcome most of the challenges so far. Deutsche Telekom, the largest European telecommunication company with operations in more than 50 countries worldwide, with more than 236,000 employees, among which are 2,000 colleagues in Macedonia, is constantly bringing new technologies, as well as modern, innovative, and above all, high-quality communication solutions to the citizens and businesses in Macedonia. Such investments are not merely aiming the modernization of Makedonski Telekom and T-Mobile, but they constitute investment into technology that enable the whole Macedonia to reach, or as you will even hear, to exceed the level of technologically most advanced countries. Since the entrance in Macedonia back in 2001, we have invested more than 500 million euros. In addition to that, in the next 6 years, we are planning to invest additional more than 300 million euros. Out of the many important investment projects, I will specifically address only two. The Fiber to the Home project, which has already started, will provide the fastest and most reliable connections for the citizens, but also for the businesses, and will positively influence their efficient operation. Out of the planned investment of more than 80 million euros, 30% will be realized by local Macedonian companies, which will additionally open new workplaces. The second project is the modernization of the network with the introduction of the next generation platform based on Internet protocol. This capital investment worth 13 million euros will make Macedonia the very first country in Southeast Europe whose network will be fully based on Internet protocol. When we finish the process of digitalization at the end of 2013, Macedonia will be the most advanced country in terms of IP transformation compared to any other country in Southeast Europe. This is the great opportunity and should be a source of pride for the country that is moving forward. The investment in the telecommunication infrastructure are of a great importance for Macedonia, its citizens, and the economy as a whole. By providing solid infrastructure and services, we are contributing to the more successful and efficient business operations of our company. With other words, we are doing well. On the other hand, the investments in the infrastructure are fundamental for the opening of new business opportunities in different sectors of the economy. So with other words, if we do well, hopefully the economy is doing well as well. We also operate a number of outsourcing and partnering relationships with external suppliers. Out of all vendors in 2011, 80% were local vendors. These local vendors are mainly from the area of network development, IT, and indirect services. We cooperate with several large multinational companies through local representatives or distributors in Macedonia, which also generates a positive business environment. We are very happy that several major international brands opened branch offices in Macedonia in order to cooperate with us as a subsidiary of Deutsche Telekom. So I'm happy to say that we are also acting as a kind of a magnet for other investors and good trademarks coming to Macedonia. The economic environment has undoubtedly become more complex, especially in light of the financial and economic crisis. Numerous legislative changes have taken effect in the past years. Many of those intended to stabilize the economic situation and to soften the negative effects of the crisis. It is important that the government of the Republic of Macedonia is committed to attract foreign investors in the country as a necessary precondition for economic growth. Based on the data provided by the National Bank of Macedonia, the foreign direct investment in the country in 2011 was over $400 million, and in the first half of 2012 was around $100 million, with further investments in the pipeline as shown by announcement today, what we also heard. This has largely been the result of the measures undertaken by the government with the goal to increase its competitive position as an investment destination. With the exception of the VAT, which I would say is at a European average level, Macedonia has created one of the most attractive tax packages in Europe with a 10% flat corporate and personal income tax. The stable exchange rate of the dinar and the expected stable inflation rate are factors of predictable and secure business environment in the country. The possibility that foreign companies can directly own construction land in Macedonia and the skillful and available workforce combined with the lower than average monthly gross salaries compared to the countries of Central and Eastern Europe are increasing the attractiveness of Macedonia as an investment destination even further. The numbers have shown that in the past period on a global level, the foreign direct investments in the free economic zones have increased up to 40%, and there are 50 million people working within these zones worldwide. Macedonia has also employed this concept, we heard it today, by opening several technological industrial development zones. These zones are attractive for the foreign investors due to the additional benefits they are providing. These were also already discussed in a previous panel, so I wouldn't go into the details. However, still there are challenges that have to be overcome in order to further improve the business environment for the current and the future investors and Macedonian companies alike. The issues that have to be addressed more specifically are liquidity of the economy in general, for which the first steps, I would say, were undertaken recently by the government. Further reforms of the legal and judicial system, we also heard it today. Somebody also mentioned that as a very important item. Strengthening the capacities of the public administration, of the regulatory and the supervisory agencies. Tax reforms, even if the tax rates are low, basically, but if you include, I would say, the effective tax rates, including local taxes, fees, permits and licenses, there are still things to be done. Also, we need to have bigger focus on investments in the IT and the ICT industries as well. You can expect that I would say that. But not only just, that I believe, it's important because I'm representing this industry, but also if you look at worldwide, in the productivity improvement, there is a statistics that 40% of the productivity improvements in the countries are coming from the IT and the ICT sector. So it's very, very important, that they are really acting as a booster of the overall economy. We also need to further increase the investments led by the government based on the public-private partnership model. But it's not only the government who should do certain things, but we as foreign investors can and should contribute further to the improvement of the business environment. What can we do? Increase of know-how transfer, state-of-the-art corporate governance, very important, and also business practices. Corruption was mentioned, not specifically like only this is a Macedonian issue, but definitely an issue, in many other countries as well. And I think the presence of the international companies with very high ethical and business standards, should help to overcome those problems as well. And also what we need is strengthening the cooperation between the businesses and the academic or the educational world. That was very high on the agenda today, so I'm only repeating actually what was already said in previous panel. Today, already significant part of the Macedonian GDP is produced by companies that are majority foreign owned. Also, very significant portion of employees employed in the private sector out of the 645,000 in Macedonia are employed by companies with a dominant foreign capital. This highlights the importance of the foreign investors for the country. Even further, it calls for a constant and constructive dialogue with the government. The Foreign Investor Council is a consultative body of the Economic Chamber of Macedonia with more than 150 members, which represents the vast majority of all foreign investors in the country. Our mission is to address the common interest of our members in order to contribute to the improvements of the business climate. This is achieved through activities like improvement of the investment and business development climate in Macedonia by drafting concrete reform proposals, promoting the communication between the foreign investors and the Macedonian authorities, cooperation with other foreign investors or other foreign investor organizations, councils, associations across the region or all over the world, and to benefit from the sharing of the best practices. We believe that the dialogue between the policymakers and the foreign investment community lies at the very heart of the successful improvement of the investment climate. As part of the activities, we will publish a so-called white book, which will contain very concrete, precise recommendations for the future in order to improve the business climate. And we also already scheduled our first conference in November, where we will try to talk about the foreign investor issues actually in the country today. So not only promotion or attraction of foreign investors, but really talking about the issues. I do hope that after these 2 days you will be even more convinced to invest in Macedonia, and the constantly growing family of foreign investors in Macedonia will contribute to the further development and well-being of Macedonia and its citizens. At the end, I would like to encourage all potential investors to approach the Foreign Investor Council, but also each of us individual companies for consultation related to their potential investment. I do promise we are not going to charge for our advice, so you are very welcome. Thank you very much, and looking forward to the questions and the debates as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. I would now like to move to one of the Johnsons, Matty Johnson. If there is one company in this country which can directly influence GDP and exports, it's Johnson Matthey. And so Jatin, has a very, I would say, responsible position to actually further boost the Macedonian exports and employment. Just, Jatin, I would like to hear from your experience. What worked well, what didn't work well, what are the areas of improvement?
Thank you, Zoran. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to share some of our experience in Macedonia. I don't know if people are familiar with Johnson Matthey. Johnson Matthey is one of these old British company founded in 1817. It does lots of high-value products from different sectors like catalyst to pharmaceutical to jewelry industry, but it's all based on precious metal. So the business, going back to 2007, we were looking at expanding capacity in European region. And just to give you a background, people were looking at Czech Republic, Poland, and during that due diligence process, someone suggested, why don't you look at Macedonia? I wasn't part of that team, but the other people who were involved, they said, why not? And the first question was, where is Macedonia? Interestingly. So anyway, the decision was made in 2007 after coming here. Invest Macedonia was heavily involved in this, doing the sales job. They did a good job. And 2008, we had the big crisis. Car sales slumped quite heavily, and the product we make is for automotive industry. So the question then came up, do we continue with this or do we put everything on hold? And they asked for my opinion. And I said, well, we've already spent the money on investment, so I think we're better off carrying on with this and see where it goes. That decision was right, because I can say since we started manufacturing in 2009 till December of 2011, we've ramped up. We've sold 5 million catalysts to the European automotive industry. So that's something to be proud about, that you have catalysts which are manufactured, made in Macedonia, are actually put in European automotive cars. So, that's something to be proud about. Since then, annually now we're making 5 million catalysts. Over these 3 years, we've had numerous customer audits where all these car companies have been coming to Macedonia, and the same question keep coming up, why Macedonia? Anyway, we had to answer that question, and the pleasing thing to know is that all these customers have gone back very happily, giving us very good scores in terms of audit. They are generally very tough in automotive industry, and these scores have gone from 80 to 90 to 100% in terms of scoring. And general message back is that you have the state-of-the-art factory, your employees are great, they know exactly what they're doing. So the experience as far as employees and the operations in Macedonia, we don't have any issues. So far as to one customer recently said that your factory here is the benchmark for the rest of the industry worldwide. So that's something, I mean, that's a big endorsement. Recently, in May 2012, we also announced further investment because we need extra capacity. This is an endorsement as well that we are happy with Macedonia. The decision was right, and we're endorsing that by further investment. And we are doubling capacity with the view of supplying for new catalyst, what we call SCR, which will be required from 2013 for Euro 6 legislation. That will be supplied from Macedonia. So that's good news for Macedonia. So the exports will increase over a period of time. So I think our overall experience is very positive. That's not to say that everything is perfect. There are areas for improvement. I think certain labor laws certainly need improvement. Work permit for foreigners, it's been a bit of a challenge. That certainly needs to be streamlined in some ways. I think there are laws which are interpreted because they're not clear. There is a need to have clarity on certain laws. And I think that's a process of reform that will need to continue. That's all I have to say, and answer any questions that anyone has.
Thank you, Jatin. It's quite fascinating. You know, when we met about 2.5 years ago, I asked you if the Macedonian automotive sector is really the strategic sector for the country. Back then, you were not sure, but and I'm very happy, to hear about your second investment. And of course, in this panel, we have the other Johnsons, Johnson Controls, as well as Van Holt. So the automotive sector is becoming the sector which attracted most of the FDI in Macedonia. Moving on to Peter Roth, the general manager of Soravia, one of the two Austrian companies here in the panel. Peter is a very special guest, not because he's my landlord and not because he's my investment client, but because he's the host of probably the largest investors in the country. Soravia Trade Center hosts some of the largest investors in Macedonia. That includes Kemet, but also some, Austria Telecom, but also I'd say IFC, but also EBRD, and many more. So Peter, the floor is yours.
So if you need money, just come to us. May I introduce our company for short, because we are not as famous as the ones who talked before, but we have just some track record in the past. Our company is existing since more than 100 years. It's a family-owned enterprise. Since several years, IFC has also decided to invest in our company and is now holding shares in Soravia Real Estate Development. Since the fall of the Iron Curtain, we have implemented projects about 2.5 billion euros in real estate in 11 CE countries. We are also active in other fields, like in advertising. We are co-owners of the biggest auction house on the European continent. And we are also doing production in fish. We have power plants, so Soravia has a bigger field of investments, but here in Macedonia we are concentrating on real estate. We are here in this country since 2006, and we have invested approximately 50 million euros so far. What were our expectations? What was the reason why we came here? Very simply to say, we started coming from Vienna, from our headquarters in Austria, of course. First address is Slovakia, since Bratislava is only 80 kilometers away from Vienna. Then we emerged to Croatia, we went to Bulgaria, we went to Romania, and because of our experience in Slovakia, in Romania and in Bulgaria, our expectation was to be one of the first developers in real estate. We would profit from future joining of the country in European Union and NATO. And I have to stress that this is still a very important issue that the country must fulfill one day, because this will really improve the investments, especially on the real estate and on the financial sector. What we very much appreciate in this country, and it's so self-understanding here that we almost forget to mention it, but the government has done a great job in the most important thing that we have here. This is security, understanding amongst the ethnicities in the country. There is no security issues. I'm born in one of the most secure countries in the world, in Vienna, but I can say here in Skopje, you live even more secure than in Austria. What we also like a lot here is the working skill. I can tell you, 2 weeks ago, Austrian Chamber of Commerce has visited our real estate project for the apartments that we have in Skopje. And one of the representatives told me that the quality he has seen in these apartments is prior to everything that he has seen in Austria in the last 10 years. So this is really a big compliment to your workers, to the people. I must say, when I go to the building site, whether it's raining, whether it's freezing, whether the sun is burning down, they are always working. In Austria, the people usually go home from the building site when it's raining too much, when it's too cold. Here, they're all the time working. So the prejudice that the people in the south are more lazy than in the north, I cannot share. And what I also appreciate a lot is the cooperation with the government. Whenever we have a trouble, where I have a problem, I'm most related because of my field with the Ministry of Transport. When I need a term with the minister, it takes a week, and then I sit in front of him and I can tell him what I need. So this is not self-understanding. I mean, in my country, we would maybe need a month or 2 to get the term. So this is something I really have to stress, that here, if you invest in this country, you really have a very short access to people that can make decisions. However, as my colleagues have told, there are also fields where we have to improve. For us, of course, the most important is the access to the cadastre and to construction permits. Here I still see a lot of field for improvement to shorten these terms, because every month that you lose as a real estate investor for such a permit, you lose money. You have to pay interest. The bank is not taking care of whether you have a permit or not. They just send you a new invoice every month or every quarter, and the time is running and you're losing money. This is a bureaucracy issue that you have inherited from communist times. We think that on the top there's a lot of effort be done, and we have also very strict laws that tell you, if you go to the construction board, you have to get a permit within a very short of time. In the praxis, it shows that people who have worked for decades in a communist system are not so easily to adapt, so we also need to have some patience for such a changes, but we will also write this in our workbook, what kind of improvements we suggest, because it's not only enough to complain, we should also give some kind of proposals. Of course, no foreign company wants to have an extra treatment. We think that any kind of improvement will be for the benefit of the local companies as well, and even for the government, because I mean, sometimes I heard that even the government has problems of obtaining permits as quick as they would like to have them. I'm sure that nobody wants to hear it anymore, but this is a key issue. Courts. Courts must work, and still they don't do like they should. maybe we should think even about when I invest here and when I make a contract amongst the foreign investor and the Republic of Macedonia, to put the responsibility for disputes on another field. There is also ADR, alternative dispute resolution systems. We have them very often in private economy, contract between two companies. Even in Austria, we would not like to go to court because it takes time, it is very expensive. Let's announce somebody in advance who is the one who is deciding when the both parties are quarreling. This is quite an easy thing to do. For us as a co-owner of a small shopping center, of course, we are also facing issues with the unemployment rate here, with the purchasing power. I think all improvements in the economy will immediately affect these problems, that a lot of people don't have enough money to spend. So we think if we can reduce unemployment, if we can increase the income of the small people, we will have, all of us, we will have more success. The last thing I would like to stress, there have been a lot of thoughts of improving education. This is the most important investigation in the future of every country. We have proposed several years ago to invest in university reconstruction, in student homes which are in a very poor condition in this country. So I repeat my invitation to the government to found a PPP. We have big experience in PPP in Austria. We have just finished a 250 million office and commercial center with the municipality of Vienna in our hometown. So I think this is a field where we can convince the state that it's not only always necessary to take money out from the budget, because with a PPP project you can even earn money from investitions. So instead of taking money from the budget to have to pay back for loans and credits, you can create a profit within a few years out from a real estate project that is half private and half public. Thank you for your audience.
Bus production is an industry with a long tradition in Macedonia. Skopje in ex-Yugoslavia was one of the centers of bus production. Unfortunately, time changed, so that company is not longer doing as well as it used to be in the past. However, thanks to the most recent FDI project of Van Hol, we might hope that the transition will continue in the future. During the lunch, I was telling Mr. Van Hol about my personal experience with Van Hol buses and coaches. After meeting his wife, Benedicte, actually, she left me the catalog of Van Hol, and a few weeks later, I went to the US, and we had a meeting in New York, and I couldn't find a better transportation than going by bus. And then looking around, almost half of the coaches and buses were Van Hol, actually. So hopefully, we're going to see more of your, I would say, production items on the streets and roads of Macedonia. Mr. Van Hol.
First of all, I want to stress that we are building a factory now in Macedonia, in the industrial zone near the airport of Skopje. So we don't have a lot of working experience yet. But I will explain our business and why we opt for Macedonia. We are a 100% family-owned business. We have two business units. The first one is the production of buses and coaches. But the second business unit is the production of trailers, semi-trailers and tank containers. We have 4,300 employees, all based in Belgium. We are a specialist in tailor-made solutions, but we also produce standard products. And because we are facing tough competition with the standard products, and in the American market, on the American market, and on the West European market. on the American market, we are facing tough competition from China, Mexico, but also from Turkey, and also local competition. I mean, coming from the United States, local production, and even Canada. On the West European market, we are facing tough competition from products produced in Poland, the Czech Republic, and of course also from Turkey. In West Europe, our biggest market, there is first of all overcapacity, and because of the financial crisis, the low-cost products are becoming more and more popular on this market. Therefore, we were looking for solutions. First of all, for the American market, there we have not 50%, thank you for this compliment, but it is only a market share of 20% we have, but we are coming from 30%. So we were looking for a low-cost product for the US market. So we were looking for an alternative for Belgian production, because Macedonia is very lucky, because the labor cost in Belgium is quite high. We have the second position on the European market after Norway. We are the most expensive country. So we were looking for an alternative where we could produce at competitive prices, and our benchmark was Turkey. So one of the options we investigated was Turkey, then Serbia, and also Macedonia, since the Ministry of Foreign Investment, Vele Samak, contacted us 5-6 years ago. That time our shareholder group was not ready to take a decision for foreign investment, but he kept contacting us every 6 months. So we kept Macedonian in mind. We faced a lot of problems for investing in Turkey, because we experienced a lot of bureaucracy and we didn't feel 100% welcome. We more or less experienced the same in Serbia, but since we knew each other for 5 years, we also contacted again the Macedonian government. And here we experienced very goodwill, and we felt welcome for the industry. We had direct contact, and in contradiction with the Belgian political world, I think that the Macedonian politicians act like managers. We had direct contact. When we had a question, we received immediately or within a week an answer. We have the same experience with the direction of the zones and with the agencies. So it was very positive. So as a summary, I would say, we felt welcome, first of all. And I think Macedonia is a small country. Sorry, it's the opposite what you say. Belgium is a small country too. So we have to export a lot. We export 90% of our production in Macedonia. In the first phase, we will start up an American production. So it means that we will export 100% here. Just to give an idea, our plans is initially to engage or to create up to 500 jobs, and to have a production of 500 coaches for the American market. In a second stage, and we are developing now in Belgium, a coach for the West European market. So the intention, even today, it's to grow, although we still have to start a production. The plan is that we will start a production in June next year. So so far, no bad experience, and I hope we can avoid them. But we are very confident that we will be successful in Macedonia, because I feel the will amongst the population to work, to learn. We are specialists in training. On a yearly basis in Belgium, we train 1,600 people. So I expect that in this area, we also will be very successful in Macedonia. That's a little bit a summary of our project in Macedonia. Thank you.
Thank you very much, or dank u wel. Now I have a special pleasure to invite Benjamin Josher from Slovenia. Slovenia is one of the largest investors in Macedonia. And although most of we have other sectors represented, this is, you know, a representative from the financial sector, non-banking financial sector. So, Mr. Josher, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the word. Perhaps a few words about Triglav Insurance Company. As you said, it's a Slovenian company which is expanding throughout the Adriatic region. It's the largest insurance company in the Adria region. We are covering all of the countries of the ex-Yugoslavia. We own an insurance company in Czech Republic as well, and we like to see ourselves as the insurance leader in the Adria region. Our main business, as said, is insurance business. We are as well involved in asset management business, and we have a little stake in the banking business as well. The company is doing pretty well currently. We have financial rating A-, which is, we have recently been downgraded because of the country downgrade. We are sharing the fate of EU countries, and the results are good, and our strategy is to remain the return on equity above 12% and to grow beyond 1 billion euro premium. We are currently very, very near it. Just recently, we've been engaged with IFC because in Slovenia we have the largest market share, about 40%, and we see no growth there, and we see growth outside Slovenia. And therefore, we formed, or are in the process of forming cooperation, and we established Triglav International Company, which is minority owned by IFC, and to which company we transferred our holdings in all of the insurance companies outside Slovenia. And we believe that this will give us additional financial strength to expand our business operations, and as well to a little bit more power when we are approaching regulatory institutions in these regions. We came to Macedonia in 2007. We acquired the insurance company Vardar, which is the largest insurance company in Macedonia and still is, thankfully, the largest insurance company here. And the reason why we came here is insurance density. The insurance density in Macedonia and throughout this region is in stark contrast what the insurance density in regions outside the Adria region is. And here we see a long-term potential of growth, and so we are definitely a long-term investor, and we see our benefits in the following years when Macedonia will gradually approach European Union as well. We are satisfied sort of with the performance of the company. The challenges where we see it is we try to transfer the practice which we employ in Slovenia to other countries. And if competitors are perhaps not having the same standards, then we may have a problem. And therefore, our market share is declining a little bit, which is not such a great tragedy, because we are not focusing on market share. We are focusing on profitable growth. But nevertheless, we like to see that the regulatory environment will somehow go into the direction of the EU regulatory environment. And signs are very promising. In the last 2-3 years, as we were here, we've seen a lot of progress, which is really encouraging us that on the long term we'll see a good return on our investment. So what do we expect from Macedonia? Not only from Macedonia, our expectations are the same for each country, which one we enter. And of course, for insurance companies, this is the regulatory environment and institutional framework in which we are competing. For the reason or I risk to repeat for I don't know how many times, but the legal system and the courts are extremely important especially for financial companies to function. And the same level of importance we see is the regulatory environment and the adoption of EU standards. And we are optimistic. We see Macedonia going to the direction of EU, and we are looking forward to maintain our presence or even expand it in terms of market share or in terms of products we are offering here in Macedonia together with IFC. Thank you.
Thank you, Benjamin. Now I would like to invite my good old friend Toshe Todordelovski, the CEO of Knauf. Knauf has been one of the first significant foreign investors in Macedonia. It was back in '94, if I remember well. Toshe was meant to have a successful career as a lawyer, but he got this offer from Knauf that he could not reject, so he made another great career. Toshe, the floor is yours.
Zoki, thank you. Hi, everybody. Јас ќе зборувам македонски. Го поздравувам овој самит. Извонредна организација ме плени. Сега дојдов пред малку на паузата. Честитам на одлична организација, Зоки. Ме прашува една пријателка на паузава, Тоше, што ќе критикуваш? Викам, не знам, јас се навикнав, одамна сме тука. Ако се сетам на почетоците 94-та година, како што спомна Зоки, и ако ги гледам сега овие род-шоуа на владата позитивни, со сета енергија, со сите пакети што се нудат, морам да признаам дека сум малку љубоморен. 94-та година, тука и Верица, здраво, една од првите директорки на Агенција за приватизација, мислам се викаше тогаш, која ги советуваше тогашното раководство у стариот комбинат за гипс у Дебар. 97 година го подпишавме договорот, извонреден пакет за приватизација избра тогашното раководство, издавање на дополнителни акции за дополнителни вложувања. Инвестиравме досега некои 30 на милиона евра. Најнова технологија за производство на градежни материјали, произведуваме гипс, гипс-картонски плочи, малтери, све што е потребно за градежништвото. Македонија е мал пазар, негде 15% ние производството останува овде, останатиот дел 85 иде и извоз. Околните земји, Србија, Црна Гора, Албанија, Бугарија, стигнуваме и до Хрватска. Најдобра наша година 2008, некои 35 милиони евра промет. Па не ни беа лесни почетоците, да речам. У тоа време ги слушам колеги овдека, секој има некоја желба за подобро судство, регулатива, дебирократизација и така натаму. Да ви кажам, 97 година сега е песна. Многу е лесно. Дури ме прогласија персона нон грата во Дебар, зашто сакав седиштето на судот од Дебар, седиштето на фирмата од Дебар да го преместам у Скопје, за да избегам од надлежноста на Дебарскиот суд. Тоа беше хорор. Што може да биде подобро, како што не викаат американците, we encourage you. Да, стварно ги охрабрувам градоначалниците да си донесат урбанистички планови. Детални урбанистички планови. Ние произведуваме градежни материјали. Петер е тука од градежна фирма, наши клиенти. Без тие детални урбанистички планови, моторот на сета индустрија, градежништвото кое влече, има некои студии, вика 30-на, 40-на индустријски гранки, дрво, гипс, цемент, стакло, да не ги редам, ево застои. Тоа е една работа, се спомна да не се повторувам, постапките за добивање градежни дозволи. За мене се тие две ударни работи кои што може да ги подобриме, се оди у тој правец, за да бидеме подобри. Зоки, ти благодарам.
Ти благодарам и тебе, Тоше, на мощно интересниот говор и споделување на искуства од раните години на вложувањето на КНАУФ. Now I would like to invite our last but not least panelist, Diara Johnson Controls, which is one of the flagship FDI projects in Macedonia. Mr. Makrip, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Martinovski, for the introduction. Dear sirs and madams, distinguished guests, I would like to use this opportunity to congratulate the Macedonian 2025 for their remarkable job organizing this very important economic summit. I am both honored and delighted to be with you today and to speak to a room of businessmen such as you. Johnson Control is a global leader in automotive seating, interiors, and electronics, a global company with 250 locations worldwide and 120 in Europe. Johnson Controls was the first company which invested in the free economic zone, Skopje 1, Bunarjik. The investment was in 2007, and it's an electronic plant for assembling the printed circuit boards, which furthermore are integrated into instrument clusters in our plants in Germany and Slovakia. Before we have chosen Macedonia for expansion, we have considered numerous locations in Europe, such as Poland, Romania, Slovakia. The mixtures of low-cost tax releases, government aids, its strategic location, advantage of having skilled workers and experienced engineers joining the company influenced Johnson Control Automotive Division to make an investment in Macedonia. Macedonia possesses solid macroeconomic policies, attractive taxes, and lowest business startup cost in Europe. Macedonia has stepped forward with the package of incentive which supported our operations. Incentives such as attractive tax package, no VAT and customs duties for buying equipment, subsidy of up to 500,000 euro towards building costs, land lease for up to 99 years at attractive concessionary rates, green customers channel expediting exports to the Europe, support for labor force training. The zone, Skopje 1, has already infrastructure which enabled us with connection to the natural gas, water, electricity, and access to a main international road network. The customs formalities and other paperwork are kept to a minimum. The zone was always supporting us in the process of obtaining permits and permission to build and operate. Furthermore, during these 5 years, the effects from the economic crisis in the Republic of Macedonia were very lower. The economic crisis in the Republic of Macedonia were with lower intensity compared to most of the countries in the region and Europe. The intervention on the foreign exchange market, together with the undertaken monetary measures of the National Bank, maintained the foreign exchange rate stability. and the government managed to keep low inflation rate of average 2% in the last couple of years. Until now, Johnson Controls in Skopje has recruited 320 employees. The company not only offers a multicultural working environment with good prospects for advancement, but also support its employees with individual training and professional development opportunities. For instance, Johnson Control has a scholarship program at the university in Skopje, where the company provides financial support to 35 students for 4 years, gives training during holidays, and offer recruitment at the end of the university studies. Also, in terms of career development, one of the key factors of success is the strategy to rely on the local resources after having expatriates. Today, our staff has only 1 expatriate when we had 7 at the beginning. As for the cooperative responsibility, we have implemented a project so-called suggestion system, where all the employees can give suggestion for improvement for their processes, for which they can receive an award. I will not take your time to list all the achievement of the electronic plant in Skopje for the past 5 years, but we'll point few of them. We have installed 6 assembly lines, employed and trained 320 employees, passed all our customers' requirement, achieved positive growth in sales, even doubled in the last year, best in class in the electronic division for practical capacity. Due to the positive experience of operating in Macedonia, Johnson Control made the decision to make second investment in a new cut and trim plant for car seats in TIDZ Stip, which will offer 1,400 new job positions. The Johnson Control plant in Stip is already operational and has already exceeded the number of 400 employees. To me, this is one of the most compelling pieces of evidence that Macedonia can be a great place to do business. However, we can suggest the government and institution to reconsider improvement in the following areas. First one, support the local suppliers to implement ISO and industry standards in order to provide bigger support to foreign investment. Build a strong culture entrepreneurship. Focus on the development of the companies that can support the investor production process with toolings, design, and technical solutions. Just to tell you today, we have only 2 suppliers who can provide us with such a technical solution. The tax package established by the Macedonian government is very favorable. Our experience shows that there has been a huge progress on the tax regulatory front. For the future, we expect to see better understanding of the international tax system. Increase the period between the resignation and new recruitment. Today, when employees want to resignate, he has the right of doing it in 1 month. 1 month, usually including the holidays, means usually the transfer period is not more than 2 weeks, which is not enough for us to make the transfer between and the passation between the candidates. Improve transport infrastructure and add more connection with Europe. At the end, we can say that the Macedonian government, the Agency of Foreign Investment, TIDZ, have been extremely committed, and I would like to thank its officials for their work in supporting this effort. I have no doubt that our partnership will yield excellent results for both Johnson Control and the Skopje and Stip community. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Gribi. Before opening up for Q&A, I was going to touch upon, one point that you were mentioning, that's opportunities to develop a local supplier network. Local sourcing has been mentioned one of the key challenges for local small and medium-sized enterprises. Unfortunately, the local component that gets into basically that the total value of the product is still low, and there have been a number of, I would say, initiatives in order to help local suppliers meet quality, safety standards which are applied by your companies. I would like to invite some of you to comment on this constraint that currently exists in Macedonia and what can be done in order to address this.
Zoran, in our industry, generally the chemicals which we use, they are proprietary chemicals. They're developed over a period of time. So any strategic materials that we use in our product, it comes from around the world. So it's difficult to establish a local supplier where there hasn't been any history for this particular chemical. Currently we have materials coming from US, China, Japan, and there are some chemical suppliers from Europe. To introduce a new supplier, basically you have to go through a very extensive period of testing. So on the materials that we use in the product, there are some big constraints. I don't think it's that easy for us to localize. But there are consumable chemicals, there are equipments, and we are already sourcing a lot of equipment locally that we use, like tanks we use for batching our chemicals. These are all locally supplied from Macedonia. And in the expansion, that will be quite a big order on the local companies for that. Apart from that, consumable chemicals that we use in manufacturing currently are supplied from alkaloid. So there are new avenues that's opening up. And we are in the process of developing local suppliers, working with them towards having ISO, TS, QS standards, so that there is a standardization system which is applied for quality.
Obviously, working in the service industry, it's very different. So I can say it's much easier to become a partner for us than for a production company like Johnson Matthey. But for us, it's extremely important, that we work with the local companies. In certain cases, even we do not have a choice because we really, we need partners in terms of dealers, also installers and others, which are very specific to our industry. So I think there are really good examples as well, actually, when we could extend and even further extend this partnership. Recently, some examples is that even big labels, really big trademarks, companies, there was a trend that we had contracts directly with their headquarters, for instance, wherever they are, in the world. But as they are opening local offices, actually here, we were also transferring those contracts into local contracts, and as such, creating additional workplaces. So I think it's very important. It is not only basically when we are talking about foreign investors, it's really the community as such is much larger if we include those who are part of the supply chain as well.
Of course, in order to produce buses and coaches, we'll have to import a lot of products, componentry, etc. But we like to maximize local sourcing, and of course, in some areas it is possible, like in supplying fiberglass componentry, for instance. In other cases, when it is not available, we are looking, and in the meantime, we were very successful. We were looking to work together with some companies who could become a supplier. I mean, we are developing then business together. And to give an example is that we are working together with a construction company who is very much interested, and we are already training these people to weld sub-assemblies of the chassis. So in this regard, we would like to maximize local sourcing. And we think there are a lot of possibilities available in Macedonia. because there are a lot of skilled workers available. Thank you.
I'm coming as well from the service company, but the specific of Macedonian insurance market is that it's mainly dominated by brokers. So we see brokers as kind of suppliers to us, and it's a crucial relationship for us to develop good ties and good practice with the companies which are selling our insurance products. And that's the main point where we see the regulation doing its part. As I said, it has really improved quite a bit recently, and we're looking forward to do it as well.
We are real estate investor. I mean, we are working at the moment only with local companies. So for me, there is no special issue to be improved here in Macedonia, but I'm a little bit different from the other ones.
За идентификација на вработените со компанијата, за прифаќање на компанијата од заедницата, тоа е маст, нели? Али по два услови, квалитет и цена.
I just want to add one point. I was mainly talking about not the material supplier, because I know it's not an easy to have it. It needs qualification, it needs years of working, but I'm more talking about technical solution which can be easily done in Macedonia. The easiest solution could be to find a joint venture with some European industry, because today all our toolings and all our technical solution, we are at 90% providing it from either France, Germany, other European country. And those suppliers are really overloaded. And it makes us, it impacts us, especially in our new projects, when we have to delay a little bit the startup of those projects due to that.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Now I would like to open up for Q&A and invite questions from the audience. I see a hand back.
I'm a PhD candidate from the Graduate Institute for International and Development Studies in Geneva in Switzerland, and was formerly a Deputy National Coordinator for the Francophonie here in Macedonia in the government. We are all aware that one of the prerequisites for investment and for the development of a country is human capital and human capacity. And in that respect, I think we can all acknowledge that the government has done a lot in terms of education and so on and so forth. And also, there's a lot of talent and a lot of potential in Macedonia. However, brain drain remains one of the main challenges, and I think this panel is also to discuss challenges. And I was wondering if the business leaders could comment a little bit on how, what can be done to keep the young and the potential talent here in Macedonia, apart from education building. What can be done to keep them here? More specifically, I'm talking of a target group of people such as myself who have invested in their education abroad and who have come back to help, but who, as Bush said about the European Union, don't know who to call, or are not here at the right time when there are employment in Johnson Control and so on and so forth. So I was wondering if there's a network or some kind of mechanism that can be done by the business leaders in order to tackle this problem. Thank you.
I think to answer your question simply, I would say create more opportunities. And you know, as you have more foreign investment coming in, that will provide opportunities. There isn't a simple solution for this. There isn't one single formula. It takes a bit of time. When I came, I've been here 3.5 years, and people have often asked the question, will more foreign investment come in since we started in 2009? And I think what people are forgetting is what's happening around the world. There is a serious global financial crisis that's lingering on. So it's not straightforward. But I would say opportunities will be created with more foreign investments, and I think that will save the drain.
Also, I think there is I can tell actually how we are doing that, and basically that is that I think we have to continue the educational program actually as part of the company, and I'm within the company when those youngsters joining us. And I'm very happy actually to say that if I look around, you know, what we are doing and how we are trying to do that, we call it exchange programs in the Deutsche Telekom companies, then there are more Macedonians, you know, in several Deutsche Telekom affiliates, you know, than foreigners or expatriates here. And those people will come back, you know, they are there for 6 months, they are there for a 1-year program, and they will come back, you know, and stay, you know, I mean, so those educations, you know, should not be finished, and, you know, this is our responsibility as well, you know, to continue that. And one of basically the unique opportunity of the foreign investors is really that we are able to, you know, offer possibilities for a temporary period of time, you know, to learn outside of the country, and there is always a very good chance, you know, even contract, you know, that those people are coming back, and we are going to use, you know, those expertise here locally.
Можеме и од позитивна страна да го гледаме тој процес, нели, како чашата полупразна или полуполна. Тоа се идните инвеститори у Македонија. Гледајќи Албанија, каде што, нели, голема миграција излезе надвор и се врати по 10 или 15 години, не само што донесе ноу-хау во сите сектори у Албанија, него и донесоа многу инвестиции поединечно. Нели? И тоа се осети многу прошлите години кога се градеше Албанија.
Perhaps to add what you've just said, we have formed actually Triglav Business Academy, where we are educating our employees from our subsidiaries, and we take them to Slovenia and then send them back to share common practice. But this process will definitely come the other way around. As you said, it's already in Deutsche Telekom occurring. And I'm very much looking forward to the day when Macedonian employees will come out from their country and to work for our subsidiaries elsewhere, because human talent is universal.
First of all, thank you for investing here. And I know from experiences you've been very constructive when other potential investors are looking at Macedonia. So a question is there general misconception that you believe may be out in other potential investors when they speak with you and you give them the good experiences here? And if there's such things, is there anything else we could and should be doing? I know we have a very effective promotional, very active development program globally. Again, as a person that's here already successful, assuming you're making your returns on investments, and is there something else that other companies that are not as fortunate as you are, they're benefiting from being here? And again, is there any specific suggestions that you would make?
I think apart from road shows and you know, meeting the local showcase investments such as Johnson Matthey, Johnson Control, where we are repeating investments in a very short period, I think that in itself is actually a big sales point. You know, I mean, there is nothing else to say. If we've taken a decision to reinvest after 3 years and step on a major investment program again, we generally, I end up seeing most of the new investment people who come to the country. And Victor makes sure that I spare time for that. I don't have any problems sparing time for that. I think it's important. Yeah. No, I think it's important for us as well to do something back for Macedonia, because I think you have a great country. And I think I like to see, like the Macedonians living abroad, success of this country.
I can tell you a short example from the last months when Drexelmeier thought about investing in a new plant here in Macedonia. One of the guys I met it's a German company from very close to the Austrian border. He's actually an Austrian guy. And he asked me, what do I think about the investment? And I told him that I'm very confident about the success that they would have. Because according to my opinion, most important is the working skill and the motivation of the people. And maybe I contributed only 1% to the decision, but I think it's important that you give a feedback and that you tell about your experience here during the last years. We have tried also to pull a lot of Austrian banks and companies here. Before 2008 it was a little bit easier, to be honest. At the moment they are a little bit reluctant. I'm happy that representative of Raiffeisen is here, because we always ask Mr. Stepic why they always are in Albania and Kosovo and why they don't like to go to Macedonia. We don't understand this at all. I want to use the opinion once again to tell that I think, especially for banks, Macedonia is providing really great business opportunities. But we have to face also the truth that we have not overcome yet the implication of the Lehman event. So, of course, the financial situation also of the Austrian banks is a little bit more difficult than it was. Also, the restriction of Basel III and so on are here. But still, I think that also on the financial sector, Macedonia has a very good opportunity to invest.
It's incredible. We haven't started up production yet in Macedonia, but on a weekly basis we receive a lot of questions about Macedonia and our experience in Macedonia. But I'm always positive towards possible suppliers. There is only one exception, and I was not so positive. It was our competition who was requesting our experience in Macedonia. But since we decided to come to Macedonia, it's incredible. The supplying, the subcontractors are following what we are doing, and I think this could give some opportunities. And we are very positive towards these questions. Yeah.
Perhaps we have time for one or two questions.
Yeah, my name is Glenn Stennis, and I've been working here recently with my wife, who's had a small bakery, which she recently closed due to a liquidity issue. I think a lot of Macedonian businesses here are very polite. This liquidity issue is a big issue in Macedonia. I'm glad the government has addressed it recently. But particularly on VAT returns, I'm interested to know if this is going to be a continuing process to get the VAT returns to companies in a timely manner.
Unfortunately, we don't have anybody from the government in this panel, but we have the finance minister here.
Thank you. I was hoping to be able to speak about some more positive comments on some more positive remarks, but anyway, we are here to address all the issues. I think all countries in Europe and in particular in the region are facing liquidity constraints, and that's not something specific to Macedonia. But you're right in pointing that it was and it is still an issue which needs to be resolved. And as you know, we are the first government in the region that was transparent in publicly announcing that there is an issue and also providing a clear plan for how we are going to address the issue. And third, ensuring there are money for that. So we traveled Tokyo, elsewhere. We agreed with the IFIs to support our reform program, and within this support we are going to provide sufficient financing, both direct and indirect, for covering our financing needs for 2013. And we didn't wait for this money, but we already started from our regular revenues to repay the arrears that were due. And I hope that many of the businessmen who are here today can confirm that they have received already a significant amount of the money that have been waiting for VAT or for payment orders. So overall, this issue will be resolved, but the bigger issue, I think, is intercompany indebtedness, and that's something that companies should address it there are various instruments and ways how they should address it. As you know, in addition, we are providing funds from abroad, from European Investment Bank for small and medium enterprises in order to compensate to some extent to the amount of domestic credit which is missing because of the overall credit crunch. So it's a challenging period for all of us, and everybody needs to take his part of the burden. But anyway, we are trying our best, and I can assure you that every dinar that comes in the treasury will be repaid, refunded to you back. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Stavritski. Final question for today. Mike, you again.
You seem like a very practical guy, very successful. And also you showed nicely the challenges in 1997. And in theory, it's much easier right now. I would love to get your perspectives. Is there something else that the government should be doing? Macedonia 2025, you're successful. I can sense there is a sense of a impression that maybe we're even asking the wrong questions. So I'd love to get, being so practical, I'd love to get your perspectives in the spirit of open discussions. Any suggestions for any one of us here, how to move the country forward? We're doing well, but still only growing 1% a year. And we need to do better to really make it better for the citizens of Macedonia. And we can have a private discussion too, but I really like the way you answer the questions.
Ако можам накратко да ви одговорам. Храброст и мотивација. Значи, од единките, иницијатива, значи, да, владата ги прави условите, законодавство, нели, макроекономија, политика и така натаму. Меѓутоа, јас се почесто се прашувам, странски директни инвестиции у Македонија, да, треба да привлечеме работни места и така натаму. Меѓутоа, јас сум присутен у 5 земји, нели, у регионов. И криво ми е што ниједна македонска компанија ја немам сретнато надвор, осим се извинувам, мислам дека алкалоид. Значи, треба да бидеме храбри. Овде, тука е силата кај нас. Петар збореше за австријанците, за германците. Еден мој пријател, бивши конзул австријски, ми вика, странски инвестиции, да, ќе ви помогнат. Меѓутоа, Тодор вика, зашто не инвестираат вашите компании, вика, повеќе?
Very last question.
My name is Kire Stanovski Skoglund. I live in Sweden. I have been in Sweden for more than 45 years. And I am Macedonian from Bitola. And this summit is I think, very important for the whole Macedonian. What we need to do is to have a lot more summits in Macedonia, in every city. And we have a lot of heroes in Macedonia, and there is the local entrepreneurs. And I think it's very important to give them courage to make this nation much better. And I hope we can have much more summit about this. Thank you.
можем да зборам на македонски, ако сакате. Важно ми е Важни ми се некои работи што сите што сме тука поживеме тука, ама никој не прича до сега, бидејќи тие се работи што не се профит, што не се пари, што не се return on investment. Тие се работи што се поважно во живот, љубов. Вашата пријатност према странци и тие работи што направат убав живот тука во Македонија, да уживеш, да живеш во оваа земја, да се заљубиш во луѓето и да успееш тука. И тие работи не можеш да пишуваш во никаков самит и во никаква брошура.
Thank you, Peter. I'm sure that Maya would appreciate very much what you're saying. It's been a long day. I would like to invite all of you to give a big round of applause to our panelists. We are not over with the program of today. As you know, tonight we're going to have some time to celebrate, to have some fun. I invite all of you for the gala dinner.
Goes when he walks us like the samba that swings so cool, sways so gentle.
Почитуван председателя на Република Македонија, господин Иванов, почитувани екселенции, еминенции, почитувани министри во владата на Република Македонија, почитувани гости, дами и господа. Ми представува особено задоволство да ви изразам добре дојде на оваа гала вечера, после еден мощно успешен работен ден. Многу не охрабрува позитивниот фидбек што го добиваме и што ги чувствуваме позитивните вибрации во салата.
He looks straight ahead at me, so tall and tan, young and handsome. The boy from Ipanema goes walking in. When he passes, I smile, but it doesn't seem like.
Вечер на сите. Welcome everyone, and thank you for being part of this great event, an important event for our country, and I'm very proud to be part of it, part of Macedonia 2025. And I just wanted to share a few words and impressions from today. I think it was a great event to set the stage and present what the country offers from resources, but also the commitment from the business sector and also from the government. I think it's very clear that we have a committed government that is really thinking business, and they stayed the whole day. They showed that they really care, and they answered every question that the business sector had. So I'm very pleased with this, and I also want to thank the foreign direct investors, their commitment to showing their experiences, their positive experiences in the country. We look forward to many more events where you can help us out. We need any help we can get to share the positive message. And I just want to briefly introduce the day tomorrow. I look forward to seeing everyone tomorrow, the whole day, and tomorrow evening for dinner. We'll have a more working day where we'll hopefully talk about how we can implement some of the ideas that we spoke about today. We'll have a panel that will talk about finance that will be led by Robert, one of the greatest financiers that we have in the country, representing us in the US. And then we'll have a panel that will talk about successful cooperational models between Macedonia and other countries. And I think this will be a very practical example also of how we can start. And it's an important event for the Macedonian businesses to attend and hopefully have good questions. And we'll close the session, the summit, with Mitre leading the panel on how we can leverage the diaspora and talk more about successful examples. So again, enjoy the dinner, and I look forward to seeing everyone tomorrow.
I'm actually excited about, again, the energy, the positive energy, the optimism we showed today, not only to ourselves, to the people in the country, but also to people who have come from outside of the country. I think it's fantastic. But why I'm here tonight is to introduce to somebody who I consider also a brother of mine and a very good friend, excellent friend, and someone who I admire, I aspire to be like. He's someone who, you know, in this world where I've spent now 14 years on Wall Street, and my job is to deal with a lot of CEOs on a global level, so I have a chance to evaluate people. You know, you meet people, different people, and not that I have to evaluate him for any reason or specifically, but I can tell you one thing for sure. He stands for excellence. He stands for high standards, high morals, everything that you want to have in a great global executive. But besides that, he's just an amazingly great and gracious person. And I'm so happy that he actually obliged out of his busy schedule to come to this event and actually share a little bit of his thoughts about what it takes to accomplish success globally, right? So we can put our problems here in this country a little bit in perspective of a global executive who is running a 14 billion euro company in the middle of Europe that has operations in 100 countries around the world and commands around 70,000 people. And he's managing all this. And I'm just extremely happy to introduce someone, again, who I, again, admire and respect, Sami Alhash, my dear friend. Sami, the CEO of Nokia Siemens.
I had the opportunity, nonetheless, to have a good education. I lost my dad at the age of 8. My dad left my mom at the age of 36 with 6 kids. I was number 5. My oldest brother was 16, who turned sick at the end because he had schizophrenia at the age of 16. And my youngest brother was 5. So during the war, my mom had certainly, you know, had some savings. She gave me $4,000, Canadian dollars, and she told me, go and chart a future for yourself. So I had the opportunity to go to Canada. It's a wonderful place, and I am honored today to be a Canadian in front of you. So I started my life in Canada and to have a good education. With my $4,000, I had to pay $2,000 for my tuition fees, and then $1,000, $100 for my room and board, and then I had left with $1,000 to feed myself and for my pocket money for the whole year. I discovered one thing, is really that chicken liver was very cheap in Canada back then. So where we used to, you know, wasn't very familiar to many Canadians. So I had to buy a kilo of chicken liver for $1. And then with chicken liver, which was good for feeding me and to keep me in good shape, and potatoes. So literally I lived on chicken livers and potatoes for a year. So, but this really gave me the strength to continue my studies. And then I progressed in Canada. Canada gave me the opportunity to be the man I am today. So I had finished my education in engineering, and then I did my master's, and I started my career in Bell Canada. I worked for Bell Canada for 8 years, and I was increasing responsibilities to a point I was responsible for the overall vision, network architecture, as well as responsible for the introduction of new technologies in Bell Canada. And then my friends at Nortel came and told me, Sammy, why don't you come and join us at Nortel? And I did. And I did have increasing responsibility at Nortel, to the point that I met Mike. What a great person. What a great person. So I met Mike in 2006. For me, Mike was a reference in the industry, a reference in business, a reference in values, a reference in principles, a reference in ethics, a reference in community, a reference in sports, just as close a perfect man can be. Can you imagine the chance I have to work with Mike? So this is really how I am here today, because I had the opportunity and the God blessing to meet Mike in 2006. Thank you, Mike. So Mike started to give me lots of increasing responsibilities. And he told me, Sammy, you will never be a good man. You can be only a better man. Yeah. So I had to work hard all the time to be better and better. And this is really where, by earning all the trust of Mike to make me a better and a better business leader, I have learned tremendously. And this is really a true demonstration of the capabilities and the results. It's not about showing the man I am every day, but showing the results I deliver. So, and then, Mike left, we sold the company, and Mike, I remember the last role he gave me. He told me, Sammy, I'm giving you this business. I want you to deliver on the revenues, and I want you to improve the profitability of this business by 3 points. I told him, okay, Mike, one thing, I will exceed your expectations. So remember, Mike, yeah? So, and then all my friends and colleagues, they were coming and telling me sincere condolences because the business was in terrible shape and they had to fix it. So we were losing money, losing market share. And then I had the opportunity to turn this business from losing $50 million at that time and to bring it to profitability at $112 million in less than 12 months. So, and then we sold the business and we sold Nortel. And Mike continued to, we are brothers. We continued the relationship. And he introduced me to many people in the US, and I had the opportunity to work with the private equity firms in New York and Chicago, and to look at different business deals and by which we can create value. So, and I enjoyed this a lot. I've learned a lot, just again, to be a better man. And then came the opportunity to become the COO of Nokia Siemens, which is a great opportunity, certainly for me. I always aspire to be a CEO of a great company one day. And this company is 14 billion euros, 70,000 employees operating in 100 countries. And guess what? Again, where we have lots of challenges, we are not making money. The market is very difficult, very tough. And then again, and I had the opportunity to start with the company in the earlier part of this year. And then we started to, again, apply the same formula. And where we announced our results just yesterday, and were phenomenal results. Just to tell you, our Q3 that we announced yesterday was 335 million euro better than the Q3 last year. We grew our revenues by 3%. We've been actually in the 4 quarters of recurring free cash flow, positive. We were the first quarter of the history of Nokia Siemens where we reached 9.3% of operating profitability and net the profit. And this is really after all the restructuring costs that we have to take, which is really by which we're able to reduce the headcount or the number of resources in the company to optimize the profitability by 13,000 people within a period of 9 months. So all this to say, yes, I'm making progress, but there is more to do. But the question is, many people, they ask me, well, Sami, how you do it? Yeah. So, and for me, it's a very simple formula, and I've learned it from the master. It really is all about 5 items. 1, we need to have a vision. There's really a vision to chart where we need it to be one day. And 2 is to have a clear strategy. Clear strategy was outline the key elements that we needed to have in order to achieve this vision and the objectives that we need to achieve at a specific time. 3 is really to have a clear plan with set of actions in order to execute and deliver on the objectives that we set. 4 is to set an organization and a team in order to execute and deliver on these actions. And the 5 is to have the operating model to track our progress. These are 5 simple elements, but I can assure you, each one of you as a business leaders, probably you are doing this every day, but this has been working for me. And I will continue, I can tell you, apply it, and I will refine it as I move forward. But this is really what was an element of, how I can deliver better results in the business world. So what does that mean? One is, what does that mean for the topic of the event that we are part of today? As I said earlier, I am very impressed by the quality of the discussion, the quality of the people, quality of the thoughts that has been put on the table. And I have no doubt that this team can bring significant prosperity and progress to Macedonia. So not only the Macedonian, but friends of Macedonia. So this really is extremely important to drive the rigor, the resolve, the hard work in order to achieve these outcomes. All I can tell you, these outcomes cannot be achieved without complete resolve and hard work. This is only about fighting to be the best, is about every day waking up to drive the appropriate actions in order for this country to be the most prosperous country. At the same time, Robert took me to a tour in the city today, and I have learned, he told me there is 365 churches in this town. He said, amazing, and every church is most beautiful than the other one. And I said, Robert, one good idea is to have 365 churches like these around the world. And the reason for that, too, is really to share your values and principles with the world, because your values and principles are extremely valuable to the whole world. But at the same time, these churches that can be used as the houses for all Macedonian that they are around the world, to preserve the culture of this great country and to link back this culture to Macedonia, to link all these people outside the diaspora to Macedonia. By linking the diaspora to Macedonia will bring only strengths, will only bring more friends to Macedonia, will only bring wealth, will only bring economic growth to Macedonia. So, Robert, the 365 churches around the world, it should be an objective of yours. So, at the same time, I am confident that with the hard work and Macedonian that they are in this room, and the great friends of Macedonia, and then I've heard as well about San Caneo here in town. And with a prayer at San Caneo, really will be this country a great country. At the same time, you know, when I went through San Caneo Church, I prayed myself in order to be a better man as I'm moving forward. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity for being here tonight to be part of this event. And I can assure you I will do everything I can in order to help Macedonia.
Sammy, you said you operate in 100 countries? I think 101 is the lucky number. Thank you for being here this evening. What a wonderful day. I started a little bit tired this morning, a little lack of sleep, but the energy in the room, energy between meetings, energy this evening is frankly fantastic. I've always said I've always been a proud Macedonian, but try to apply it more and more into everyday living. And the feedback which I have received has gone beyond all expectations. I'll keep this short, but we'll promise we'll make some commitments tomorrow evening. There's not going to be only 1 or 2 or 3 people. It's going to take many of us in this room to propel many of the wishes you have told me privately you would like to see. Maybe a comment, be careful what you ask for, because actually you may be asked to participate in achieving many of those goals. I know dinner is right in front of us. It's my great pleasure now to introduce a person, the President of the country, to keep reinforcing the importance of this summit, the importance we're trying to accomplish, and a great Macedonian with a very much of an educational background. We spoke about education today and the importance of driving education, business, and energy in the country. And Mr. President, please come and give us your thoughts. President Ivanov.
Почитувани присутни, Ваши ексцеленции, дами и господа, пријатели на Македонија. Инвестицијата по дефиниција е насочена кон иднината. Токму затоа со големо задоволство ја прифатив поканата да ве поздравам на овој прв македонски глобален инвестицијски самит. Сакам да им честитам на организаторите Македонија 2025 и да ги поздравам учесниците. Како председател на Република Македонија досега сум учествувал на многу самити, но ово е прв од ваков вид во Република Македонија. Самит кој собира повеќе од 40 светски бизнис лидери на едно место, тука во нашата духовна и културна престолнина Охрид. Самит кој целосно се фокусира на иднината. Ценети присутни, ако Македонија е позната по нешто, тоа е традиционалното гостопримство. Благодарение на напорната работа, реформите и посветеноста, во изминатите години станавме препознатливи како добра дестинација за директни странски инвестиции. Македонија е отворена за соработка и има што да понуди. Затоа зборуваат и глобалните рейтинг листи. Македонскиот слободен пазар ги гарантира правата на собственост. Имаме образована и високо квалификувана, но релативно ефтина работна сила. Како раскрсница на југоисточна Европа, местоположбата на Република Македонија е одлична за транзит и дистрибуција на добра. Тука се и ниските и рамни даноци од 10% и исклучително лесното регистрирање на компании за само 4 часа, но и многу повеќе од тоа. Почитувани представници на македонската диаспора, Република Македонија има пријатели и подржувачи во светот. Но овој инвестицијски самит зборува дека најдобриот пријател на Македонија и на македонците треба да се самите македонци, каде и да живеат, создаваат и напредуваат. Самитот е потврда дека во македонската бизнис диаспора имаме верен и стабилен партнер кој со својот успех не инспирира и не мотивира. Затоа од името на граѓаните на Македонија, од свое име, сакам да ви се заблагодарам. Вашата посветеност зборува за љубовта која имате кон Македонија. Кога нешто се дава во вистински момент, вредноста е далеку поголема и позначајна. Бидете уверени дека Ова што денес го правите е најголема инвестиција во нашата заедничка татковина од ваков вид. Македонскиот глобален инвестицијски самет ги отразува желбите, волјата и решеноста на македонската диаспора активно да се вклучи во градењето на македонската иднина. Во досегашното успешно работење Македонија 2025 ја покажа својата водечка улога на платформата за вмрежување на луѓе, идеи и капитал. Платформа за зајакнување на економската соработка меѓу бизнис диаспората и македонската економија, наука и образование во насока на унапредување на трговијата и на инвестициите. Водени од мисијата да помогнат во создавањето на поволна економска клима во Република Македонија, тимот од Македонија 2025 на располагање стави својата експертиза, знаење и контакти. Ја користам ова прилика да ги охрабрам учесниците на овој самит да искористат можноста што им се нуди. Ценети присутни, времето не чека, туку прво чекори напред. Некој ќе рече дека 2025 е далеку, дека имаме време и дека не треба да брзаме. Но не смееме да заборавиме дека времето е релативна категорија. Као што се вели, челикот се кали додека е врел. Во услови на глобална економска и финансиска криза не смееме да изгубиме стекнатата реформска и економска кондиција.
In terms of global economic and financial crisis, we must not lose the reform and economic condition we have reached.
Треба не само да го одржиме, туку и да го дополниме и да го забрзаме темпото на реформи во економијата, судството, законодавството, образованието, науката и другите клучни сектори. Ни преостануваат само 13 години за да ја постигнеме поставената цел – напредна, богата и просперитетна Република Македонија. Македонија како призната, препознатлива и посакувана дестинација за директните странски инвестиции. Македонија како заеднички дом на нејзините граѓани и на нејзината диаспора. Верувам дека сме на вистинскиот пат. Пред неколку дена Република Македонија по четврти пат доби позитивен извештај од Европската комисија, во кој се констатира дека нашата земја продолжува да ги исполнува сите потребни услови и е подготвена да ги започне преговорите за членство во Европската Унија. Тоа зборува за посветеноста која ја имаме, но и за напорната работа што ни предстои. Македонија е нашиот единствен заеднички дом. Сакам да знаете дека вие сте дел од нашиот единствен заеднички дом и дека целосно сме подготвени за конкретна соработка со бизнис диаспората. Ви стоиме на располагање во секое време. Сите државни институции, агенции и стопански комори ја поддржуваат ова благородна иницијатива. Сакаме да ги чуеме вашите ставови, идеи и совети за тоа како да ја направиме Македонија поуспешна на полето на економијата. Можеби 13 години не се многу, но се сосема доволни ако се работи напорно, сплотено, со заемна доверба и почит. Драги пријатели, со увереност дека семето што е посејано на овој самит ќе даде богат плод, ви посакувам успешна и плодна работа. И ви посакувам пријатна вечера која со денешниот ден на вистина сте ја заслужила.
Да работиме и утре, се за жртвување за доброто на Македонија и македонските луѓе.